It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Billy, I'm looking at the screen. You and I look like an old school Broncos uniform.
Yes, we do. Orange and blue going on today. This is nice. Yeah.
Turn it to the YouTubes and Rumbles and X and Facebook.
Yeah, this is one of the, okay, I'm going to do it. Peel back the onion a little bit here. I'm one of those people that finds particular shirts or something like that, and then I go buy a bunch of them. And I found these Columbia shirts.
Oh, they're great.
I love them, and they're wonderful.
Perfect summer shirts.
Yes, all I'm doing is I'm just waiting for all the colors to go on sale. So as soon as all the colors go on sale, I go get the shirt. This was the first one in the batch. This is the first one that was on sale. And since then, I've got 4 others now, and I'm just waiting. Every couple of weeks, I go in there and check, are they on sale yet? Because I am going to have the entire damn rainbow, because they're fantastic shirts. They're really light. They're great for summer. They wash well. They're water resistant. They're sun resistant, and they're somewhat universal. And I can get away with wearing them in semi, formal occasions. The idea that, hey, you have to show up in somewhat business casual. This works. So, yeah, these are great. And they're fantastic for doing trivia as well, because loading stuff in and out when it's 92 degrees outside, it's a little sweaty. So, yeah, these work really well. So, yeah.
We look like a little pair of Broncos fans here.
Fantastic.
Light blue and light orange.
That's wonderful.
We've got a lot of news to cover today. There was a press conference done yesterday, and you people concerned about Venezuelan gang violence, do you realize what you're doing to our city, to the actual people of Aurora?
I just was going through
You have brought all this national attention upon these good, kind people that were just trying to quietly live their lives. Never mind the Venezuelan gang violence.
No, never mind the people that, again, it was
walk
the
around
idea,
with big guns.
That's the question I had. Well, the people with the guns in the entire press conference, as I just finished up reading about it right now, like 2 minutes ago. But nothing about who are the people with the gangs? And they're talking about these people are struggling with rent. It's a slumlord, it's a landlord. And I'm like, no. The dudes with the guns going the door to door. And we heard the woman talking about how she has to lock her door and even put a brace up against the back of the door so that they don't try to break in. And they were trying to break into certain doors. What about them? What were they doing? What have we done with them? Is that just an isolated incident, or is it something larger? None of that was addressed. It was just nothing to see here. La, move on.
And
you guys are making this an issue.
It seems to me, I'm just going to throw this out there. I know it's controversial, and this will be clipped and put on all the newses.
Excellent.
It seems to me that if you really care about immigrants in the community, you might want to address gang violence. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for such a controversial take, as the gang people might not be good for the community. I'm sorry for such a controversial take.
I know that you are just being shocking this morning. You're lighting fires everywhere. It's that you're thinking that gang violence is a problem. I understand you sometimes, my friend. This is ridiculous. How dare you say things like this?
Call HR.
Yes, this is as bad as me. No, we're not going to go back to that. Suggesting something at 6:30 in the morning. No, we're not going to go back to there. That'll create too many problems. And you're right, because it's the idea of why don't we address and look deeper into the gang violence, because as John Fabricatori outlined with us the number of times he's been on the air and was on air with us live yesterday with Lauren Boebert, that the gangs are set up when they come across. Now, it's not that the gangs are trying to get here necessarily, but they're opening up. It's an expansion of territory. So they're looking at this as an opportunity. Yes. And then when they get here, what is the culture they understand? The Venezuelan migrants, legal or illegal, that are coming into our country. So they take advantage of them based on exactly what they do in their home country, based on intimidation, based on power and leverage of money. That's why they're in the apartment complexes. That's why, because they know the language, they know what makes them afraid, and they know how to deal with them. And so that's the idea. And it's much easier to pull them in to that, I guess you would say, I almost say bubble, because if you get them involved in paying protection money, you get them involved in gang now, it's much easier than when they break out and they actually find their own path to the American dream, when they're out there and they're putting food on the table with a job and they're getting education, they're putting their kids in school. That's much harder to get that person now involved in supplementing the gang when they're first starting out, when they're first struggling and they're in a crappy apartment building. Much easier to persuade them.
And Bill, I'm going to say another wild, crazy thing here.
Yeah.
It might be both.
Yes.
I don't know.
You were being crazy today.
Maybe it's a bad landlord, a out-of-state slumlord, which we've never denied on this show.
Never. No.
Probably. And gang violence.
Yes, because wouldn't one possibly lead to the other? If
you brought that up yesterday. I thought that was a great point.
It's a target-rich environment. Where are you going to go? If you and I wanted to start the Jeff and Bill gang today, we'd get artists, we'd get Iggy out there with us. We might be able to do Hugo, maybe, but artists
would bring.
Artists would throw down with us.
She's one of those that you wouldn't expect it, and then then it would be the most violent.
And then we put something like, and then Joan would have to be involved in communications. She'd be PR for us, and so we could put together this gang, but we wouldn't be going to the well-kept high rises in DTC. We wouldn't be trying to roll through some of those places in Cherry Creek. We'd be going to lower income areas in which we can already see there's a problem with the building. So we know the people are already being taken advantage of. We just have to leverage that. That's all we have to do. So it's not strange. That's where these gangs are operating. One, in a community they already know. Two, in a target-rich environment, which is a building that is already dilapidated and people that aren't being cared for. Duh. This is pretty much what you're doing. It's exactly what John Fabricatore told us the very first time he was on this show, right after that big giant riot that took place in the parking lot of the Target. It's exactly what he told us was going to happen.
You're exactly right. Well, we've got a lot to cover, including that, because there's a little press conference yesterday afternoon about how it was all your fault, you people concerned about violent gangs, that was now bringing about real problems for the people of Aurora. Because they have to deal with these false claims that you conservatives have brought up.
We're
gang
obviously really responsible.
Totally ignore the guy with the guns.
That's a side issue.
So we'll cover that
as people with the microphones. That's the problem here.
As well as what happens if you ask Alexa who you should vote for. Alexa's got some thoughts on Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, but it's not what you're thinking. It's kind of interesting. We'll cover that, as well as a legislator getting out speeding tickets.
Yeah. I wish I knew about this. I'd be a legislator in a minute. Just because of this. Just the idea
there is this weird, bizarre law that is concerned that sheriff deputies may somehow prevent a lawmaker from getting to the Capitol. And so in light of that law, Stephen Woody Woodrow, who he and I have a wonderful relationship.
I bet you
he got a little clicky ticket.
Yeah, photo ticket.
And used that law to get out of it.
Yeah.
And he admits it. And he said he was just trying to see if it would work. A legal argument. This is what happens when you have just total one-party control down there.
And the weird part
is nothing better to do.
And the weird part is he's like, I want to see if I can do this. Why don't you go change the law? I mean, of all the people involved in this situation, you actually have agency over what goes on and the laws that we follow. And your thing is, hey, let's see if this happens. The other part is cut the check. Shut up. I mean, stop trying to play little legal funny games. And the only silver lining I would say would be if he comes out on the other end and says, and this is why I am going to change the law.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's just, I just wanted to see.
that got out of a $40 ticket.
You're just being me. You're just being a clown on the air. Fine. That's why I'm knocked down in the Golden Dome. That's exactly it. Stop acting like me, please. That's not a good thing sometimes. That's my mom.
We'll cover that. The transgender shooter in Tennessee has a manifesto that was finally released in its entirety yesterday by the Tennessee Star. We'll talk about that. And then in the 9 o'clock hour, Colorado Republican Chairman Part 2, Eli Bremer, joins us. We still got the poll going up, by the way, on X. X.com. Who is the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party?
And
currently,
dun, 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 dun.
Eli Bremer is leading 62-38 with 192 votes.
Interesting.
So you got 2 hours left to tell me that Dave Williams is the actual chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. So we'll talk to Eli Bremer. You can also vote in that poll at x.com/Jeff Hunt. So lots of news to cover. And Joan is already sending in the messages.
See, that's why she in charge of communication for our gang.
Yeah, there she goes. She's on top of it.
Yeah.
Ask Alexa if Jeff Bezos is a Marxist. You'll get an interesting answer.
Oh, that's great.
8031. We'll have to. All right. We got a lot to get to. But first, news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. Joan is part of the communication for the gang.
For the gang. That's right.
Yeah.
She makes the wings
the logo
too.
Well, actually, Blake, your job is just to stand behind us with a baseball bat and just snap it in your hand. That's it. That's your job, my man. You'd be excellent at that.
Can I pick the music, please?
Absolutely. Yes, you do great with the music.
All right, that'd be awesome.
Just no Village People. I'm just saying, it's gonna give the wrong theme. It's gonna make the wrong vibe for what we're doing here. Okay.
All right, 62 and clear, expecting a high of 82 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
I mean, I've watched so many folks walk this back. It's not even funny.
Danielle Jurinsky on with Jeff and Bill again Tuesday. Council member at large in Aurora, and the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office says that 4 people who were arrested in Aurora last month have ties to the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. The alleged gang members and associates were arrested at the Ivy Crossing apartments. The investigators say they were involved in drug trafficking and car thefts. Officers reportedly seized 750 counterfeit pills, ketamine, and a stolen car as a result of the investigation. You get what you vote for. On Tuesday, a large group was on hand outside the other complex, and they say there are no problems at all there. Forget the gun holes, the bullet holes in the windows. Just forget about all that stuff. The Mexican government will now be busing illegals from Mexico's southern border to the U.S. southern border and provide a police military escort with food along the way, complete and ridiculously insane. More New World tactics to crush the culture and the electorate. Mexico openly aiding and abetting an invasion on the U.S. once again. So more news coming out of the southern border. Jury selection is now in the next phase. The process moved to the courtroom Tuesday, and questioning will continue today in the Boulder King Soopers massacre trial. Those selected will be deciding whether Ahmad Alyssa is guilty of killing 10 people inside and outside of King Soopers, or if he's not guilty by reason of insanity. The judge expects the jury to be seated by Friday and says trial will last 3 weeks. Former President Trump is pleading not guilty after he was once again indicted for election interference in 2020. Special counsel Jack Smith, oh yes, Jack Smith, filed a revised indictment last week after the Supreme Court ruled that former presidents have some immunity for their actions while in office. Kamala Harris expected to announce an economic proposal to help small businesses today. Harris will be on the campaign trail in New Hampshire, live free or die, where she'll outline proposed tax deductions for small business startups. Now, why didn't she and her great buddy Angry Joe do this the past 3.5 years? Why? I have no idea. Her plan, well, I think I know. Her plan would increase the deduction from $5,000 to $50,000 just in time for the election.
So today I ask, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in Hey.
No. The U.S. is charging 6 Hamas leaders with terrorism and other crimes related to the October 7th attack in Israel. On Tuesday, the Justice Department announced the 6 defendants were identified by the FBI as leaders of Hamas, including the group's political head, Sinwar. Peter Ducey, my hero, on Tuesday with Karine Jean-Pierre, asking about those Southern dialects we hear from Kamala Khan.
A different topic. Since when does the vice president have what sounds like a Southern accent? Well,
I mean, this is.
she was talking about unions in Detroit using one tone of voice.
Is this something that
same
you think?
line
Okay, Peter.
that she used the same line in Pittsburgh, and it sounded like she at least had some kind of a Southern drawl.
I mean, do you hear the question that? Do you think Americans seriously think that this is an important question? They care. You know what they care about? They care about the economy. They care about lowering costs. They care about healthcare. That's what Americans care about.
So
that's what they want to hear.
This is something...
They care about. Your colleague just asked me about what basically we talked about, went back and forth about democracy and freedom. That's what they care about. I'm not even going to entertain some question about the press. It's just hearing it sounds so ridiculous.
Well, but hearing it is
the question. I'm talking about the questions is just insane.
Is that how she talks in meetings?
I'm just Peter. We're moving on.
No ways tired. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. 59 in Lakewood, 60 in Lone Tree, and 62 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Wednesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
A Pacific cool front is descending south and east into the region. This is going to lead to a cooling trend and a better chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms today, tonight, and into Thursday. Then back to dry, fair weather again for Friday and the weekend. Low 80s today, developing showers and thunderstorms. Some will continue overnight, lows 50s, only 70s Thursday with some lingering showers and thunderstorms. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. All right, the drama. The Aurora apartment complex continues. Yesterday, there was a press conference done by, quote, residents of the nearby apartment complex, and they raised, according to Channel 9, the real dangers.
Real dangers.
Threatening the people of Aurora and this apartment complex. And it is
climate change.
No.
Oh, darn. Okay.
It is you talking about gang violence.
What?
Yep.
You mean
Next with Kyle Clark posted, people at the Aurora apartment complex say the recent national attention puts their community in danger.
Why?
Like Billy said, or like Blake said, ignore the gun holes, gunshot holes, bullet holes everywhere.
Yeah.
Ignore the bullet holes. Ignore the men walking around with giant long guns kicking in doors.
Yeah.
Ignore the reports of residents having to barricade their doors to keep it safe. It is, quote, national attention that puts their communities in danger.
Did they tell us why people talking about it makes them less safe? I don't understand that, because normally the idea is if there's something criminal going on, if you're aware of it and you talk about it, people don't do it. I'm just saying from personal experience, in our neighborhood, there is a small little part of the side street in which the street lamps don't cover all the way. There's about a 15-foot area that is pretty dark. During the fall and the spring, where do we think the underage teenagers are sitting in their car having a couple of beers? Where do we think it is? Right there where it's dark.
Yep.
And the easiest way to make them go away, it's so easy to walk out there, grab your flashlight, and just put it right in the driver's face and walk up and go, "Hi, guys, what are you doing here tonight?" They're gone in 3 minutes. It is that easy, because as soon as you give them attention, they move away.
That's exactly
I'm
right.
so curious about why the residents felt that this issue would go away as long as we covered our eyes and pretended not to pay attention.
Well, they said, according to the credible reporting provided by Kyle Clark at Next.
Yes, and you use air quotes there. Good.
People traveling from outside the area are now harassing people that live there. So are those people traveling from outside the area possibly Venezuelan gang members?
I would assume that in the video that everyone is seeing of the people walking door to door with the guns, I'm guessing they weren't from here. I'm just guessing they were
the people traveling from outside the area.
They would qualify, I think, by most people's casual definitions.
Now,
they would qualify.
Obviously, somebody going down, and you know this will happen.
Yeah.
Because this is the world we live in.
Yes.
That some Yahoo will go down there, stand at the street corner, and yell, "Immigrants, get out of here!"
Yeah. Put up some signs that hurt people's feelings or something. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
The dude, if they did that, and I haven't seen evidence of that, but if they did that, I would consider that rather rude.
Sure. And harassment. Could be even if he's yelling at kids and everybody else out there and he's getting faces, we could even go as far as harassment, whether or not it's illegal, but yeah, sure. Absolutely.
I'd just like to remind everybody, there's people with guns walking around.
Yes.
All right. So the fact that the media is fixated on the dude on the street corner, quote unquote, harassing because he's yelling, "Immigrants, get out of here!"
Yeah. And again, in that
while at the same time, we have bullet holes. We got people kicking in doors. We got gangs walking around. And remember that poor lady that got pistol whipped at the jewelry store. Same gang.
Yep.
Same gang. They happened to catch the guy down in New Mexico. So it seems to me like we're straining the gnat, swallowing the camel here with some of the media. You're fixated on possible harassment while you have people with long guns walking around.
Yeah. And the question would be, let's just, and this is the thing that I believe that this is a great example of a majority of the media casting a blind eye to this situation because of the fact that they are immigrants, legal or illegal. Now, I'm not saying they're denigrating the immigrants, but because they want the illegal immigrants as a sanctuary city and they want them to have those type of services, they don't want to make it look as if anything in Denver is taking advantage of the illegal immigrants, the migrants, the asylum seekers, however we want to define them, because we want to show this as this is an okay and we're a happy city and we're a sanctuary city. You don't have people walking around with guns in sanctuaries. That would be silly. So in order for the liberal side of the media to still hold on to their idea of this being a sanctuary city, they have to ignore the violence. And the example would be if we would pick up and take those people you've seen in the video and they're walking around your neighborhood, our listeners, they're in your neighborhood going door to door and you have video of it. They're in Jeff's neighborhood. They're in my neighborhood. They go rolling through Cherry Creek neighborhoods. They go flying through Park Hill, doing the same thing and acting the same way, going door to door with the guns, knocking on them, trying to break in and approaching it that way. Would the people involved, the mayor and everybody else, come out and say, well, you guys got to stop talking about it. That's the problem here. It's not the people with the guns going around doing the stuff. It's the conversation. That's the issue. Understand here, during that press conference, again, I like Mike Kaufman a lot, but the problem's the conversation. I think you're missing the point here. Yeah. It's not about our words. It's not about the story we're telling. It's about the actions that are happening.
Yes.
How about we deal with the actions? Because we know that if those same people were walking through our listeners' neighborhood, that it would be a big deal. It would be deemed absolute violence, that these gangs were trying to take over your neighborhood. But in this instance, because it is people that are migrants, some of them here illegally, some of them claiming asylum that is completely and totally not relevant, and because they're in a building that most people, and especially landlord, wanted to ignore, we are told to ignore it as well. We need to ignore how this community is being treated. No, we're not. We're not doing that. I'm sorry. That's kind of why we're on the air here. We're not going to ignore this. That's the
right.
point.
That is right. No, and Bill, I'll tell you, the reason I appreciate the attention on all this is the same reason Chicago was a great city to be in for about a week.
Yes, all the police.
All the attention.
Yep, all the attention.
Because when you get all the attention, to your point, the bad guys and girls, they don't necessarily like to do all of it out in the public where people are paying attention.
Yeah, it's very weird that you don't see many of the illegal drug dealers or drug traffickers or human traffickers taking out ads in the newspaper or TV or radio. They're not looking for attention. They have ways of communicating. They're around the normal channels. They don't want attention. Attention is a problem. And remember, we were just told that it's the attention that is causing the problem here, not the actions by individuals involved. That should tell you something.
That's really exactly right. By the way, 9 News also reporting where police said they have not received any reports of harassment happening.
None?
Although there is one social media video of a man doing exactly what I just said, yelling on the street corner, going, Venezuelan gangs where he came to chase you off.
Of course. Yeah, of course there is. That's where we live now. Yeah. And they've got no reports. That's different than what we were hearing from John Fabricatore as early as yesterday, that he was talking to people and he knew people inside of law enforcement and talking about who the criminals were and how they were being dealt with. And he was connecting them with illegal immigration and connecting them with ICE and knowing the pattern, and they can track them. And so none. Okay. I'm
no
surprised.
Reports of harassment.
I'm surprised, but yeah, I can see that actually being true. However, that doesn't mean what's going on in the building is okay. And here's why. Those people had guns.
Yeah.
And I'm just guessing that if your building, your neighborhood was being patrolled or harassed by a bunch of people with firearms, they probably would tell you, hey, you go and you talk to the police about this. We're coming back here and we're either breaking some limbs or we're going to shoot somebody in the family. Are you then going to go to the police, especially if you're a vulnerable population like an illegal immigrant or someone that has claimed asylum and your asylum claim is completely and totally bogus? There could be some real asylum claims, but then again, now you're involved in the police. Now you're involved in the system. And that they're worried about that because in their country where they come from, just making a report because the police can be so dirty can expose you to more violence. So they're already afraid of getting into the system on that level. So the idea that there are no complaints doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means it's not being reported. I think they mean
complaints about like harassing from outside people coming in and harassing and that type of thing.
But even then, that's not okay. Even if it's, we don't have anybody from outside coming in and yelling at the buildings. Okay. Again, we're not dealing with the guns. I would assume that the individuals inside of that video that were on the other side of the door were feeling pretty harassed.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing. The idea that there's no harassment, it just, come on, people.
But don't have the conversation.
Yeah, last thing we need to do is talk about it because it's obviously our fault.
So does this just, in your mind, contribute to the lack of trust you have in the mainstream media? Do you even pay attention to what 9 News or the Denver Post or the Sentinel even puts out? The Sentinel, by the way, was demanding an apology.
An apology.
How dare you treat the immigrants this way?
Okay.
You talking about gang violence. You must apologize.
Yes.
That came from the Sentinel yesterday.
Not
the gang member.
No,
the people shooting.
No. Here's the thing is, okay, I will take this upon myself, being the official spokesperson at this moment for the Jeff and Bill show. We are going to offer our official apology to the Sentinel. We are so sorry that you are wrong on this topic. We apologize that you have gotten the story so wrong. We are so deeply, deeply moved, and we apologize from the depth of our soul that you don't understand the problem. We are sorry you don't get it. Apology accepted,
Boom.
maybe?
There you go. There's the apology. Give us a call. What do you think about all this? 303-696-1971. Text us 720-892-6757. Look, with all the work I've had done to my teeth, believe me, finding a good dentist makes all the difference. I'd like to tell you about Dr. Mike and Rocky Mountain Dental Group. I love this guy. He is top-notch. Very kind, very dedicated, a good people person. That all matters, right? If you're going to get your teeth cleaned, he helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. See for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. I've been going there for over 20 years. Dr. Mike and his entire staff are outstanding. I like the fact that the same person always cleans my teeth. If you need an awesome dentist, Dr. Mike is your guy. If your gums are receding, it's critical to address this issue promptly. Dr. Mike is a top-tier expert in the Chow pinhole surgical technique. This method requires no cutting, no sutures, and virtually no downtime. The procedure involves making a small hole in the tissue and gently repositioning the gums. Schedule a free consultation with Dr. Mike to discover the benefits of this revolutionary procedure. Call 303-233-1335 or visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's RockyMountainDentalGroup.com to book your free consultation today. By the way, Billy, I'll finish with this.
Yeah.
One of the persons down there organizing the press conference yesterday was a immigrant activist, and we've come across her in the past.
Who, pray tell, is she?
She was the one that came up with the 13 demands from the immigrants that they submitted to the city of Denver in the past.
Oh, that genius.
You remember one of those was we must be able to cook our own food.
Yes, and your
we
food
will
sucks.
Not eat your food.
Yeah,
city of Denver.
Yes.
So that's the kind of people.
And I and the thing is that in my life, I have run across a number of people that have been in some dire situations where food has been really difficult to come by, and the one thing that they've done when we brought stuff over, either in a dish or maybe
complain about it.
Yeah, they've said, "What is this?" I mean, we brought a bag of food over to go through the dried goods. They're like, "Zartan's beans and rice. What is this crap? Get out of here!" Kraft macaroni and cheese. What is this? That's the one thing that is universal. They always, when you're hungry and you need the food, you complain about it. Yeah, that's definitely happening. This is wonderful.
All right, we'll get to the phone calls. Marcus, you're up next. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
doing it again, Billy.
Oh, how you doing?
Threatening the people of Aurora with real violence by
Yes.
talking about gang violence.
Oops, you're doing it again, just like you said. That's not good. Oh, baby, hit me one more time. That's not good. We're idiots.
Oh, we're just laughing at the lunacy of
I
all
know.
this. Channel 9
Crazy.
posting, you all talking about gang violence is really threatening the people of Aurora.
Yes, that's
Ignore the bullet holes.
yeah.
It's your words that are hurting people.
Exactly. All of us that ran through the 90s and understood the gang problems we're going through here in Colorado and also through California. Yes, it was the conversations. That was the issue.
That was what the Sentinel was arguing last night.
That's exactly it.
The folks over at the Aurora Sentinel were like, well, don't you know we always have gang problems? Why are you talking about? We've always had gang problems. How dare you bring this up? The people of Aurora are now under serious threat over the fact you all are talking about gang. Oh. So obviously, just the idiots that run the city are continuing to demonstrate why the city is the way it is. But let's go to the phone lines. Marcus, Aurora, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Good morning. It's always good to talk to Jeff, Billy, and Blake. And I live down here. So what I would say, number one, we can laugh all day. And it's pretty funny to me because I do laugh because they don't live here. Come down here and live.
Yep.
And then you tell me. And that's the thing I look at. But I keep thinking, this is Johnson's fault.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Mike Kaufman ran off of crime. He was going to take care of the crime situation. So don't be turning your back now.
Right.
And,
and that's Marcus, I'll tell you, one, I really appreciate your perspective being there. That matters more than our perspective. I mean, Billy lives in Aurora. I don't,
Yes,
but
I do.
that matters. But I've always felt, and I could be wrong about this, but I've always felt that Danielle Jurinsky and John Fabricatore were just listening to their constituents.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, they were getting messages going, we have problems. We have gang violence. And they're going, oh, well, as city leaders, we need to do something about this. And you got this bizarre political response because it's an election year. And Breadman gets to this. He goes, reporting the violence endangers residents because the propaganda machine is worried that it may endanger Kamala's election.
That's a good point.
So
it's so stupid that they can't even hire security officers. They brought in some that were armed, but that was too dangerous. So they got rid of them. Can you imagine being 5 minutes from the best hospitals in town, the VA, Children's Hospital, CU Hospital, and all this is around it? Can you believe this?
And the other part you're saying there, Marcus, is that the idea they brought in armed security officers and then said, no, that's too dangerous. Wait, I got to raise my hand there because you're telling me the guys that are there with the guns are a danger.
You know why they're in danger, Bill?
Yes,
because you're down there talking about it.
Yes.
That's why they're in real danger, according to the Sentinel and 9 News.
Because of the other people doing the illegal stuff that have the guns. Funny how that works out.
Yeah. And what's really funny is the guys with the guns, they're doing good.
Yes, they're doing just fine. They're chasing their American dream.
I bet you that gun talks.
It talks in some way. That's absolutely right. Marcus, great call.
Thanks, man.
Hey, keep us updated on what you're seeing down there, especially if you live in Aurora. Look, if we're out of our minds, if we've missed it, if we're totally wrong and this thing is totally blown up, please call. Yeah. This is the one show in Denver where you can make your case that it's actually peaceful.
Yeah.
In the city of Aurora, there aren't Venezuelan gang issues, and that we're wrong. 303-696-1971.
Yeah, I've changed my position on a couple of things based on conversations I've had on air and off air with people who listen to the show. Yeah, if we're wrong, that's perfectly fine. We're more than happy to say that we are incorrect on this one. However, we have to go back to it was Danielle Jurinsky and John Fabricatore that came on the show that talked about, as Jeff outlined, heard from their constituents. people in the neighborhood going, what's going on? Can you help me? Because the other people that are in charge in the city that I'm reaching out to, I can't get an answer. So they went to them. And Jurinsky and Fabricatori started asking questions because they can knock on doors that Jeff and I can't and our listeners can't. And they started asking, why is this going on? And that's why we're talking about this. But evidently, that's why there's violence, because we're talking about it, which is just silly.
Let's go to Ron and Greeley. Ron, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Ron.
Morning, guys. Hey, what Billy was saying as far as Venezuelans and them not talking, calling police, etc. I watched the video last night on YouTube. This guy posted it. I'm looking at it right now. He posted it September 1st, and it's called "Are Venezuelan Gangs Actually Taking Over Colorado?" And he went to the apartment buildings. He was able to go inside the apartment building, videotaping, knocking on doors. Nobody answered the doors when he knocked, but everybody that he talked to, he was actually able to do a pretty good job of talking to them in Spanish. And all the Venezuelans said, no, there's nothing going on. But when he would talk to surrounding neighbors and anybody else that was not Venezuelan, he said, absolutely, there's stuff going on.
So do you think that's because the Venezuelans living in the apartment complex were telling the truth, or do you think they're intimidated to tell the truth?
Oh, absolute intimidation. Absolutely. I mean, think about it. I mean, I would be the same way. If I was forced to stay there, I'm not ratting on anybody.
Yeah.
Because I don't want them busting down my door.
Yep. Marcus,
I need to
Ron,
go along to get along
right
at that point. No, because you know how many times, you see in the good old A-team days when everybody's got to give the money to the gangs coming around to support your business. Yep. And if you rat anybody out, you're in trouble. And that's what's going on. And this guy, when he's going through it, he shows the filth and he says, this is third world country. He says, I can't believe I'm in Aurora, Colorado. And Aurora is, I have no idea why they're so afraid to take this head on. Or do you think the cops are outgunned, or do you think they're afraid?
So we asked Danielle Jurinsky about that yesterday. One, she thinks the interim police chief is incompetent. In fact, she didn't even get asked to apply to become the next permanent police chief. So Danielle Jurinsky brought up that she thinks that there's some incompetency at the top of the Aurora PD. We'll ask Mike to come on. Look, Mike's been a friend of the show, and I think Mike's a very reasonable person. I'd like to hear his perspective. I think Mike is probably trying to balance a lot of stuff out here. One, you have a very diverse city, right? And so he understands that you have different communities that operate within Aurora, that type of thing. But at the same time, I've always found Mike Kaufman to be kind of a law and order type of guy that wants to clean up the community. So I want to understand from him why we are in this space. Why not go all in law and order? We're cleaning up the streets. We're taking out the gangs, because you have evidence. You have plenty of evidence. You have bullet holes. You have videos. And in fact, the Gazette's doing a lot right now to report on the connection with this TDA gang. So I think we got to hear from Mike. Maybe we'll invite him on. But go ahead.
In closing real quick, and then I'll let you guys go. As far as, I have to agree. I think it was J.D. Vance that said, and I don't know, I don't recall whether or not he said bring in the National Guard, but they need to be rounded up. We know they're not here legally. We know they're in possession of illegal firearms. Need to wrap them up and need to send them home. Now, Venezuela says they're not taking them.
Right.
I mean, you got to find a place.
That's good evidence that we may not have the nicest people here. So, Ron, appreciate the call. Thanks so much. We got You Choose the News coming up. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy, let's give the people what they want. You choose the news.
Yes, it is that time of the morning where we play everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. You choose the news. I've narrowed the interwebs premiere moments. With these stories in my hand, I've given them even more ridiculous headlines to play the stupid radio news game show. Why? Because nobody in charge has any idea that we are being this silly or wasting time in the morning. So, shh, it's a secret. Don't tell them. Alrighty. So here are your choices this morning, gentlemen. Headline number 1, our fault, now gimme. Headline number 2, awkward brand change. Headline number 3, shh, it's the perfect plan. And headline number 4, dentist beware. Mr. Hunt, your choice.
Dentist beware in honor of Dr. Mike.
Dentist beware. Following some promising results in animal studies, Japan is now testing whether or not humans can regrow their toofuses. Yes,
That would be awesome.
regrowing your teeth. They've done it so far in rats and ferrets, and now they're starting human tests. They're going to start with molars, and they're in the back. And so far, genetic is promising. So
Really?
maybe in the future, instead of going and having all that dental care, they'll just yank the tooth and have you regrow it.
So I had some genetic issues with my teeth.
Yeah.
And if my progeny could not have those same problems.
Yes, that's what they're talking
Honestly,
about.
the amount of time I've spent in a dentist chair.
I bet.
That would
I bet.
be
Wouldn't that be amazing?
amazing.
See, that's what I was thinking of you, my
Yeah.
friend.
I
All
love
right.
Dr. Mike, though.
Yes, Blake Olson. Our fault, now gimme. Awkward brand change, or shh, it's the perfect plan.
Our fault. Now gimme.
Yes, our fault, now gimme. Here we are meeting a Welshman, Mr. Saunders, who was basically imprisoned for 11 years, but he didn't commit the crime. After 11 years, they went ahead and the Welsh government said, yeah, our bad. Here, have about $700,000, but we're going to charge you about $41,000 for room and board that you weren't responsible for. So even though we put you in jail and it wasn't your fault, you didn't do anything, we're still going to charge you for
Room
the
and board.
services. Yes,
What a
exactly.
deal.
I know.
What
How
a
about that?
deal.
That only the government.
Food?
Exactly.
You said that includes
Yeah, it
food?
did everything. Yeah, and you're just like,
Wow.
what? And they're like, nope, that's ours because we
Nice.
had to house you for the stuff that we convicted you of that you didn't do.
Great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I know. That's government in action. All right, Jeff, your final choice this morning: awkward brand change, or shh, it's the perfect plan.
Shh.
Yeah, shh, it's the perfect plan. We traveled to Singapore for this one, and we were meeting a man who is going to spend about the next 4 years behind bars because he was trying to get his ex-wife in trouble. They were married for a couple of years, and they're trying to go through divorce, but because of the short nature of their marriage, in Singapore, it's hard to get divorced. He figured out, well, if I get her convicted of a crime, hey, divorce is easy then. So he went out and bought 1.5 pounds of cannabis and tried to put it into her car.
Framed her, huh?
Yes. Although his clever plan went a little bit awry when first he told his ex-girlfriend about the perfect plan on Telegram, and then also communicated with the friend because he didn't have enough money to buy the pot in order to frame the ex-wife. He actually was caught in the act because as he had the keys and tried to open her car, she got a notification that her car was open downstairs. So after he had planted the pot, she went down there to check on the car, and he's like, I'm just wandering around the car. Imagine seeing you here. Yeah.
Busted.
I know.
In Singapore, don't they cane you there?
The amount of pot, it's a death sentence.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I know. Luckily, he avoided that, but still,
That
back to you.
backfired.
That's it. I know.
Wow, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
7 a.m. on this Wednesday, September 4th. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. It's still going to be a hot one. 85 degrees with scattered afternoon thunderstorms here. It'll start to feel a little fallish tomorrow, Thursday. Only high 73 with more rain. And then it shoots back up again. 85 on Friday, 90 on Saturday, 93 on Sunday. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after the news with Blake Olson, what happens if you ask Amazon's Alexa questions about Donald Trump and Kamala Harris? Yes, it's another disheartening story in the saga of big tech not being friendly to Donald Trump. You're not going to believe this audio when we play it for you. But first, let's check in on the news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 62 and sunny, expecting a high of 82 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
Head hate on me. Can't stop DJT, and I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to know me.
Former President Trump is pleading not guilty after he was once again indicted for election interference in 2020. Special counsel Jack Smith. I got a cough. Hold on. Thank you. Excuse me. Jack Smith filed a revised indictment last week after the Supreme Court ruled that former presidents have some immunity for their actions while in office. Election interference actually is when Google erases anything about presidential assassinations or an assassination attempt on DJT or Alexa, as Jeff just said, giving information about Kamala Khan, but nothing about Trump. Not to mention the daily coverage by the state-run media.
Trump moving all over the place on issues from abortion to immigration, now saying we need more immigrants in the United States. All of this stuff, the crazy stuff at Arlington, they're absolutely desperate. And the campaign has said internally, they know they can never they can't make people like Donald Trump.
Right.
So their goal is to make people hate Kamala Harris.
Yes.
And that's where we are. And if they can't get Americans to hate Kamala Harris, then they understand she will win.
That dude.
I mean, I've watched so many folks walk this back. It's not even funny. And the thing is again, like I said, you know what? I knew this was going on for a long time. I asked questions. I asked for solutions.
Once again, Danielle Jurinsky on with Jeff and Bill on Tuesday. The Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office says that 4 people who were arrested in Aurora last month have ties to the Venezuelan gang TDA. The alleged gang members and associates were arrested at the Ivy Crossing apartments, and investigators say they were involved in drug trafficking and car thefts. Officers reportedly seized 750 counterfeit pills, ketamine, and a stolen car as a result of the investigation. On Tuesday, a large group was on hand at the other complex, and they say that there's nothing going on around there. Everything's good. Nothing to see here. A 17-year-old Norteno gang member from Tracy, California, was caught with a gun just 3 days ago and subsequently released. And then 2 days ago, he shot San Francisco 49ers player Ricky Pearsall. Despite his recent arrest, authorities released him, and then leading to this tragic incident. We didn't talk about it yesterday, but this player was shot in the chest by this gang member in California, innocent bystander. Jury selection is now in the next phase. The process moved to the courtroom Tuesday, and questioning will continue today in the Boulder King Soopers massacre trial. Those selected will be deciding whether Ahmad Alissa is guilty of killing 10 people inside and outside of King Soopers, or if he's not guilty by reason of insanity. The judge expects a jury to be seated by Friday and says that the trial will last 3 weeks. Kamala Harris expected to announce an economic proposal to help small businesses today. Harris will be on the campaign trail in New Hampshire, where she will outline proposed tax deductions for small business startups. Hugh had this one this morning. In 2017, Harris talks about her grandmother, India, and abortions.
So I come from a long line of tough, trailblazing, and phenomenal women. My grandmother would go into villages in India, and because she was Indian and lived in India, and she would go to the villages in India. It was a famous story in our family. My grandfather would say she was going to be the end of his career, but my grandmother would go into the villages with a bullhorn, talking with the women about the need to have access to reproductive health care.
Wow, the left just loves the abortion stories. That was in India, really? The U.S. is charging 6 Hamas leaders with terrorism and other crimes related to the October 7th attack in Israel. On Tuesday, the Justice Department announced the 6 defendants were identified by the FBI as leaders of Hamas, including the group's political head, Sinwar. J.D. Vance knows all of this that's happening in the Middle East is from this administration.
I think it's despicable. It's also, frankly, entirely predictable. We know who Hamas is. We know the problems they have. We know the fact that they felt emboldened by Kamala Harris's policies, and we know they've been enriched by Iranian money that has flown to them because of Kamala Harris. So this is not unexpected, and it's going to keep on happening unless we fix this.
The Clear Creek County Sheriff's Office has announced an arrest in the murder of a Doberman breeder, Paul Peavy. Peavy was found dead near his home on August 24th, and several puppies were reported missing from the property. Authorities have identified the suspect as 46-year-old Sergio Furter of Georgetown, and he's charged with first-degree murder and aggravated robbery. 58 in Louisville, 60 in Littleton, 62 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue on Wednesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
A Pacific cool front is descending south and east into the region. This is going to lead to a cooling trend and a better chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms today, tonight, and into Thursday. Then back to dry, fair weather again for Friday and the weekend. Low 80s today, developing showers and thunderstorms. Some will continue overnight, lows 50s, only 70s Thursday with some lingering showers and thunderstorms. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right. So what happens if you ask Alexa who you should support in the upcoming election? Remember, Alexa is Amazon's little thing that bugs your house and tells the government everything you're saying.
I love them. We have them all over that house, but there's a rule in the house because, again, you know that we roll a little bit differently in the Thorpe household, that every once in a while you have to mutter nonsense out loud just because somebody there is going to have to scrape that. You know, the idea of every once in a while someone will go, wow, that's a lot of blood. How do we get out these stains? Or you do something like, make sure you put the Chinese kid back in the cage before you leave for school. I mean, just because somebody is going to have to listen to that. And they're going to go, wait, what? It's just because if they're going to keep listening.
You think Kyle Clark's going to attack me. He's going to clip that.
Of course. Dude, that's the issue. It's just the idiocy, all of it. You know, and the idea, sometimes you'll sit there and say, well, how much vodka can we mix with a baby's bottle? We don't have a baby in the house. But just because we know it's scraping the audio, you just got to play with it. You have to.
I love it. Well, Amazon Alexa gives starkly different answers when asked why to vote for Trump versus Kamala Harris. By the way, hat tip to Suzanne right now, who's texting in saying it's quite sexist that we refer to Trump by his last name and Kamala by her first name.
You know, actually, let's go down that path just for a sec. I understand what Suzanne is saying. However, now I'm just going to take off my, the show hat and just talk about strategery for a second. If I am a Republican, I'm really, really worried that she's become Kamala. If I'm a Democrat, I am super, super happy she's become Kamala. Because just yesterday on the weird show that Steve Bannon used to do, but now he's in prison, Peter Navarro was on talking about how he wants Republicans to stop using her first name because it makes her sound like a rock star. Now, some of the examples were people referred to by their last name. So Peter wasn't aware of that, like Lionel Messi. He said, I look like Messi. You're referring to her like Messi. That's his last name, you idiot. But still. The issue being that when you come forward and it becomes a one-name moniker, that's powerful, especially if it's the first name. And
Madonna,
Taylor. Exactly. Beyonce. That's powerful. And it's more powerful than if it is the last name. So
well,
that's what I think.
I'm going to burst Suzanne's bubble and just say it flows more and it's easier to say Trump than Donald, Kamala than Harris.
Yeah. And they're more descriptive.
There's no sex.
It's not sexist at all. In fact, it's
she made me laugh this morning, though, Suzanne.
Donald Trump has been using Trump as his moniker for a long time.
It's on the building.
And that's why I would lean into, if I was, again, a Democrat, I would lean into the Kamala because it's unique. Harris is rather banal. There's not much there. In fact,
how many white dudes you know with Harris?
Exactly.
It's a boring name.
Couple of weeks ago,
so exciting.
A couple of weeks ago, Trump was saying nobody even knows their last name, and he was complaining about that. And I'm like, dude, you're missing the point. The fact that they're just referring to her as Kamala and dropping the last name, that's the point. But he wasn't getting it. He was using it as nobody knows who she is. No. They know who she is, and she's been so well defined, she can only use her first name. I mean, the next thing she could do is come out with a moniker like Sting. Just invent a name. That's the only one that's better. That's the only thing you can do better than this. Than if you can get your first name to be your moniker. It's powerful. And I think Navarro, while he was a little wrong-headed, he had a good point. That yes, by using it only this way, it does give her more credibility. Just like with Trump, using only the last name gives him more
Suzanne's not backing down. She just texted in, Billy. No matter what you say, it's still sexist.
That's okay. I understand.
But I just referred to Suzanne as
Suzanne. So we're being sexist anyway. Yeah.
All right.
My wife refers to me as hey you. So it's fine. Yeah. That's great.
Let's check this out. What happens if you ask Alexa questions about Trump or Kamala? Hit it, Billy. Oh my gosh. I would love to see the setup. We got a text message saying the Alexa thing is fake. You can set up answers to questions in the Alexa app, but Fox Business reporting that Amazon Alexa gives starkly different answers when asked.
Yeah,
so
no, I didn't test it at home, so I can't say one way or the other. But I just assumed it was correct, and because I would assume that someone in the background, either on purpose or just because, clicked the wrong buttons. And we've done that before, where you miss an end date on certain carts, you miss certain things there. But again, if you're
Fox Digital tested it.
Yeah.
When asked why I should vote for Trump, Alexa declined to provide such information. I cannot provide responses to endorse any political party or its leader. The virtual assistant responded, tested by Fox Digital. Another time, Alexa gave a similar answer when asked about Trump. I cannot promote content that supports a certain political party or specific politician. Furthermore, I do not have the ability to provide information regarding to policies of the U.S. government. The responsibility of providing information regarding to policies of the U.S. government lies with the government itself. Asked why to vote for Trump a third time, Alexa said, I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or specific candidate. Directly afterwards, Alexa was asked why someone would vote for Harris. The response given to that question was drastically different. Now, this was tested by Fox. While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a woman of color who's overcome numerous obstacles to become a leader in her field, Alexa said. Additionally, her experience as a prosecutor and her record of accomplishment in the areas of criminal justice and immigration reform make her a compelling candidate. In another instance, when asked Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris? The response was, while there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a female of color with a comprehensive plan to address racial injustice and inequity throughout the country. Fox News tested the question on multiple devices and observed the same distinction across various speaker models, including the Echo Dot and the Echo Pop. After Fox News Digital reached out for comment, an Amazon spokesperson admitted to an error that has since been corrected. Here's what really gets me going on this is the fact that conservatives constantly have to stay on top of this stuff. And you're dealing with huge organizations that reach and communicate to a lot of people. Now, if you're a well-versed person on policy that dives into issues and you read the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and all that stuff, yeah, you're not going to be asking Alexa who to vote for. But there's a certain part of the population that right around election time is going to ask Alexa who to vote for, and they're going to get these answers. And when I look back on the Google search algorithm with regards to Donald Trump and assassination and that whole story that we covered, and whether or not it was kind of burying that information and their excuses around that, it always feels like conservatives constantly have to fight this battle against big tech, that they are trying to steer the electorate in a particular direction.
Yeah. The thing for me is I understand why the feeling is that way. I don't think that it is anything necessarily nefarious, but I do think that where it pulls back the curtain a little bit on the bias is where whoever's responsible for making sure, and then the correct answer is, I can't say anything political, blah, blah, blah. That is the correct answer that Alexa should be giving you. The issue for me, where it does reveal a political bias, is the box for Trump was checked, but not for Kamala. And I've got a question as far as whoever is responsible for that, because, nobody's directly programming it, but they're telling the system what to do. Who's responsible for that quality control? Because you're messing it up. There are times in which, in music scheduling, as far as radio stations, there are certain safe harbor hours. And so there's certain songs that you schedule between 9 to 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning, because the rules for the FCC are different and your listening audience is different. But you have to code those properly. We have shows that appear here that are pre-recorded on KNUS and other properties of Salem. They have to be coded. Someone has to go in the back end and tell the system how this thing has to be dealt with, how it's going to be played, and also where it's not supposed to be played. Oddly enough, sometimes our promos have to be coded out of running on our Christian Teach and Talk KRKS, and that's fine.
Because we are a little too spicy for my Christian friends.
That'd be me. Basically, it's me. So I understand. So there are times I have to code that out so it doesn't go there. Someone's responsible for coding this. They messed up, or they could be absolutely putting their thumb on the scale. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They could.
So to address the question that this is fake, there's multiple news articles. The Economic Times. If you Google it, you will see that this was Amazon acknowledged that it was an error and has corrected it.
Yeah. So if you think it's fake, the issue is Amazon has acknowledged that it was an error. So regardless of all the other videos or anything else, if it was fake, Amazon would respond like, let me see. This is hard to think of an example. Oh, yeah. The press conference we were talking about last hour. How they would just say, no, it's fake. You're imagining this. That's how they would respond. That's what they would do.
So here's the question. I mean, the Daily Beast says, Fox Business, the Telegraph, Daily Mail, the Economic Times. I don't know, but I'm guessing from all of them and the fact that Amazon admitted it, that it is likely a mistake. So here's my question to the listeners of 710K in US, you fine people. Is this a systemic problem by big tech to put their thumb on the scale in an effort to rig the elections so that Kamala Harris defeats Donald Trump? We've seen evidence, allegedly, that maybe Google did that during the last election. And you're frustrated because constantly conservatives have to find this stuff out, publicly address it, because the fix is in. Big tech really does want to try to stop Donald Trump. Or is this just a bad programming error? Much to do about nothing. Move on. And you're being a conspiracy theorist. Give me a call. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us at 720-892-6757. That's 720-892-6757. Not fake. The real deal. My friend Dan Kaplis and Dan Kaplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. This guy is pro-life, pro-America, pro-family. He gets our values. This matters because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Look, you hire some guy from a billboard you saw on the side of a bus. You show up with him in the courtroom. It's going to send a message to everybody involved. Hire somebody that shares your values and is a real serious player. Dan Kaplis is the son of a police officer. He's a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law, so trusted that they are the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. He's a serious lawyer for serious cases, but Dan's not just reserved for the rich and wealthy. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. Look, even if you're not in a car accident right now, put his phone number in your phone because you don't want to be scrambling and searching for it when you really need him. Dan Kaplis Law, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So some big news happening yesterday. The Libertarian candidate in the Congressional District 8 race here in Colorado withdrew.
Now, that's important.
Very important in Congressional District 8 because during the last cycle, it was argued that Libertarian candidate took just enough votes to keep Barb Kirkmeyer from winning and putting in Yadira Carville. So this is a big deal. Gabe Evans got the Libertarian candidate to withdraw by signing a federal candidate pledge for liberty. Now, Billy, would you sign this? I'm going to read it to you. And my listeners, good listeners here at 710 KNUS, I would like to hear, would you sign this as well? Number one, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. I support a peaceful resolution to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Any aid must directly benefit American interests and should be subject to safeguards such as audits to secure accountability and transparency.
That's fair.
I think so, too. All right, I'd sign that. Number two, I will oppose a military draft should the Ukraine-Russia conflict escalate.
Odd that we'd get to that point, but okay, that seems fair as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't, unless it's, I believe this wholeheartedly, and I didn't 20 years ago, but I believe it now. The only time we should be sending our young men and women into harm's way should be to directly defend the life and well-being and the freedoms of the families that sent them. If that's not the case, if we're just out there running around, I'm not a fan of it, especially after I lost friends in Iraq. And I'm not sure what we got out of it.
Yeah.
Number three, as a combat veteran who has borne the cost of an endless war, I will oppose military adventurism and direct military action that does not immediately affect U.S. national security.
Now, that's a new twist inside of the GOP, etc. But I like it.
It is.
I think it's very smart. The idea of and I like him using the phrase military adventurism.
Yeah,
because that is it sometimes. That it's friends of mine that have been longtime service members. A couple of them have some really, really funny phrases, and one always says, "Listen, we are not in favor of war. But if someone happens to hold one, we're happy to attend." I'm like, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. Number four, any foreign aid spending must directly protect American interests and should be subject to safeguards, such as audits, to ensure accountability and transparency.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is interesting because I spent one time took a trip to provide aid to Mozambique. And so went to South Africa, spent time there. And we were working on behalf of a ministry that provided these high protein peanut bars to the starving kids. So remember like the 90s, like the distended bellies.
Oh, yeah.
And those kids that were really suffering. Well, churches down there gathered together and came up with this high protein bar that you would feed somebody if they were starving.
Yeah.
So it was because you can't just hand them like a Big Mac.
No, you can't. And part of it has to do with reintroducing food after a while. That because after you've been starving, the way that your body deals with certain nutrition, it can only take in nutrients at a certain clip and only a certain type of nutrition. Because if you did hand them a Big Mac, their body's going to reject it and they're just going to throw it up and they're going to have more problems than you're trying to fix.
Exactly right. So they built these systems to provide them. But I saw warehouses. We visited some USAID operations in Mozambique. Huge warehouses full of food that we were just giving grain, those types of things to folks. So, it's got to directly benefit. I don't think it's necessary for the government to provide all of that to other countries all the time. I think it creates a sense of dependency that often happens in those other countries. Now, if they're going through a famine, that's one thing, but ongoing regular sustenance given from the United States to other countries. Come on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We can work on that.
The idea being that if your neighbor or your neighbor down the street was bringing dinner over every night, how many times would that have to occur until you stop not only preparing dinner, but buying the ingredients?
Right.
That's the issue.
Number 5, in Gabe Evans pledged to the Libertarian Party, which resulted in the Libertarian candidate withdrawing from Congressional District 8. And we're asking, would you sign this? Number 5, I will work to remove a non-constitutional presidential war powers and return those powers back to Congress.
Oh, that's very libertarian.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I would sign that 100%.
I would too. That's interesting. And that is interesting because both parties, I believe, and I throw rocks at the Republicans more on this one, but I do believe that both parties are in favor of a unitary executive. They just want that unitary executive to exercise the power differently. They're not against it. They like the idea. Look at all the executive orders Biden has
dropping
has
bombs,
done.
baby.
Yeah, they're happy with this. So that's interesting. That
I would support that.
I like that
because I like
lot.
separation of powers.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I like a less effective government. All right.
Yes.
Number 6, I support more accountability for federal intelligence agencies will work to reduce their politicization and ensure they comply with the constitutional rights guaranteed to American citizens. I think anybody could sign that, right?
Yeah.
You don't want a politicized intelligence agency, whether or not you believe they are or not. I don't want them politicized.
Yeah, that's the thing I look at is it seems to presuppose a conclusion inside the statement. I'm not against it. For me, that's a bunch of words that make you feel good. That I'm not sure how you execute it or what the issue is there. And so
now I believe they're fully politicized. I believe in a deep state. So I'd sign that.
That's fair.
Number 7, I will include auditing the Federal Reserve in my 2-year congressional plan.
I like that, but I wish that he would add one more agency, Department of Defense. I wish he would do that.
I would audit that
because
too.
The DOD has been avoiding audits for a long
They like
time.
their $750 hammers.
That's exactly it. And so that would get me on board. The idea that we're only focusing on the Fed, I'm like, wait, I can point to a number of other agencies that really should go through some audits. And the next one on the list is DOD. I can throw more out, but that would be the next one. Absolutely.
Number 8 on the Gabe Evans pledge to the Libertarian Party that resulted in the Libertarian candidate withdrawing from the race. I will prioritize reducing the size of government and eliminate any funding that exceeds an agency's constitutional scope.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's interesting as far as how he would define the constitutional scope and make that determination. I would love to see what that metric is, but it sounds great because I do think that we have a problem with agency overreach, that we're just going to, rather than Congress taking the role, and this is part of where I think Chevron case, Chevron deference can help, that rather than Congress taking the role, they get to just pass the language and then let the other agencies be the heavy. And so I do think there's some merit there. Yeah.
All right. Number 9, I will support fundamental reform of the Department of Education that returns control of education back to local communities and families. I would be willing to sign it, but what I really want is I want the elimination of the Department of Education, but I understand that's not politically.
The thing is that
happy right now.
The question I have is, I understand that many times, and this is true, that many times individual schools, individual districts make better choices to serve their communities, but sometimes they make choices that can not serve their communities. And I can talk about examples of bringing certain curricula in or removing other curricula. And the other big question I have would be, what do we do with the money? And that's kind of the problem. I'm not saying that the Department of Education is the best at...
you want to block grant it back to the states?
Is that going to work? I mean, have we seen that as far as, do we think that's going to... You give a state education department a whole bunch of money and we think they're going to manage it better? I'm not saying the Department of Education is doing a great job. That's the problem I have, is how do we make choices on this money? And I believe that the reason many people dislike the Department of Education is how those choices are being made. I'm not convinced that giving them to the states, they're going to make better choices. And here's the example. Let's say that Colorado got a huge block grant from the federal government for education. How long until the Dems under the Gold Dome start trying to take it for other programs? How long until it's carved off?
A lot of money towards comprehensive sex education, you first graders.
Yeah, see, that's going to be the problem, is how that money is going to be used. And I'm not convinced it's going to be used for education, because inside that block grant, if they don't use it for education, what are you going to do? There's no Department of Education that's going to enforce anything. So you can take all that Department of Education money and go through a giant party at the governor's mansion and a rager for 3 weeks and go, nah, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I think the federal
problem
government has put a lot of strings when they block grant. But
yeah, there are. Yeah, you're right.
Number 10, I will vote to always protect and uphold the right to bear arms, and I will oppose all unconstitutional gun laws.
I'm worried about the word always. and the only reason I say always is the question I would have is in the recent Supreme Court case when we had a man convicted of domestic violence and had used his firearm to threaten people after that incident, and it was an illegal firearm that he was suing to get his Second Amendment rights back. That would be an always situation where you would say, yes, this person that has demonstrated not only a propensity for violence, propensity to act out on individuals in their life violently, and also use the gun in ways that no reasonable gun owner would say is okay, but we're going to defend that person's right to own a gun. That's where always trips me up. I don't agree with the always, but I agree with everything else in the statement.
So far, I'm tracking along with them, and then we get to number 11, and
what's number 11?
The brakes hit, and we come to a screeching halt for me.
Ooh, this is interesting.
This is where I've always disagreed with my libertarian friends.
I'm so curious.
Number 11 in the Gabe Evans signature pledge to support the Libertarian Party that resulted in the withdrawal of the Libertarian candidate from the Congressional District 8 race. I support pathways allowing states to make and enforce their own laws pertaining to the production, regulation, safety, and public health of marijuana and ending the prohibition on banking for state legal marijuana.
Oh. I'm not as against that one. I know you don't like that one.
Man, it's just
I'm not as against
flooding our community with drugs and being like, so this is where libertarians, and for all their free market sensibilities, I can't understand for the life of them why they don't understand that doing this to marijuana commercializes the dang drug and incentivizes a bunch of big companies to go get as many people using it as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of mental health issues around and proven by studies to regular marijuana use. And this is when it comes to the drug stuff, me and the libertarians have always broke. I think when you don't just allow somebody, and Trump was wrong on this too. He came out with this the other day about Florida. It's not just allowing people to quietly use a drug in the backyard and not get arrested. It is the full unleashing of the free market to get as many people using these drugs as they possibly can. That's just where I disagree with them.
Yeah, it's the idea of bringing capitalism into that market in a way.
To an addictive substance.
Yeah, and the way that it magnifies many of the problems that are associated with, because, and so I agree with you. And that's the thing is, I am not against marijuana deregulation, but you have an excellent point based on the capitalization of that drug and what that does, and then getting the big companies involved, because we know when they got involved in tobacco, they were doing great stuff then. So
still the number one killer in America.
That's the thing.
That and heart disease.
Yeah, I can see that, man.
Me and RFK can talk about making food healthy again. All right. Number 12, I will support and uphold the freedoms afforded to the American people as set forth by our founding fathers in the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
And then 13, final one, I will work with the Libertarian Party of Colorado to establish and regularly convene a Libertarian Advisory Committee to ensure regular communications between myself and the Libertarian Party on policy issues.
That's smart. That is really smart. I hope that when he gets elected, and I'm assuming something that he's going to, but I hope when he gets elected that he follows through on that, because I think that is a great way for the GOP to bridge the gap with the libertarians. And it can be the idea of, okay, you can still vote for your candidates, you can still sit with your principles, but let's work together so that we find commonality.
The phone line is open.
Yep, and we can start changing things in the course, because the libertarians and the GOP continue to argue, you're doing more harm than good to your issues that you want to move forward. Find the commonality, move them forward. I hope he does that one. That's very smart.
By signing this pledge, you commit to uphold these principles and actions as a federal candidate for the Colorado Republican Party in the 2024 election, and acknowledge that these actions are the best way to make America a freer and more prosperous country. Signed, Gabe Evans, September 3rd, 2024, Colorado's 8th Congressional District. And in light of signing that, the Libertarian candidate for Congress has withdrawn from Congressional District 8, giving Gabe Evans a leg up and likely, hopefully, delivering that for him. So what do you think? Good move by Gabe Evans? Are you optimistic about Congressional District 8? This is where Yadira Carville currently operates and is running for re-election there. Would you have signed that? Is it good for the merging of the Libertarian Party and the Republican Party? I think on 90% of things, I'm happy to do with that.
Yeah.
Comes to drugs, we have a difference of opinion. But you didn't see anything in there on abortion?
No.
Or anything like that, or gay
smart.
marriage, or any of that stuff. So
whoever came up with that list and had the idea inside of Gabe's staff needs a raise. Very smart. Yeah, very clever, tactically put together extremely well, hit all the right points without hitting any wrongs. Very smart. Yeah, again, whoever's idea that was and whoever drew it up, you need a raise. You did a good job with that.
All right. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app or at 720-892-6757. Bill, you want to tell us about Balanced Well Space?
Oh, yeah. I got to tell you about a company that is making an amazing difference in my life, Balanced Well Space. I have a lot of things wrong with me, and they're not just mental. It's a lot of physical things, from doing a lot of stupid stuff when I was a kid. Broken shoulder, really bad back where the bottom two vertebrae in my back are fusing. I've got a knee problem. There's a list. We don't want to go through it right now. But I have found a medical team that is making an incredible change in my life, and I want them to help you the same way they're helping me. As we get older, things start aching, things start hurting, and then they start stacking on top of each other. If you're like me, you think, it's just how it is. This is what old is about. You saw it when you were a kid. People getting up out of the chairs. Oh, my bursitis. Where's my spleen truss? You heard that. That doesn't have to be your life. I thought that was my life, but then I found Balanced Well Space. Check them out at balancewellspace.com. Balancewellspace.com. I went in and I talked to Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess, the team. They did a medical examination of me, talked to me about what hurts and then what I'm not doing. They then put together a custom pain plan and went to work. In just weeks, I was doing things I hadn't done in years. The tingling in my right leg from the sciatica is gone. The movement in my right shoulder is better than it ever has been. I'm now regenerating the meniscus in my left knee at this point. Things are incredible, and I want them to be able to do the same thing for you. And here's the reason they can. Integrative medicine. They're taking a whole bunch of different things and putting them together under one roof. This means when you visit Balanced Well Space, you can go in there and get neuropathy care, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, chiropractic care, trigger point injections, regenerative care, and so many more things, some that are literally cutting edge out there. They have it under one roof for you. So it's one appointment, one day, all the stuff you need taken care of. That's an incredible difference, not only in your lifestyle, but also in the time you have available to go pursue the stuff that you're going to be able to do once you talk to the team at Balanced Well Space. Everything you need in one appointment, and it's right there in Lowry. Brand new offices right across the street from Hangar 2. If you can find the Officers Club, you can find Balanced Well Space. They're right across the street. Giant parking, plenty of parking, and lots of shady trees. Let them make the change in your life that they've been making in mine. I'm not living in pain like I did for years. You don't have to either. Talk to them today. Make an appointment. Check them out at balancewellspace.com. Balancewellspace.com. Tell them you heard about them on Jeff and Bill.
Glad to hear you're getting that support there,
no
Billy.
more tingling in my leg. It's
All
great.
right, Jay, you'll be up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go to Jay Sterling. Good morning, Jay.
Morning.
Good morning, you guys. I appreciate all you do. Now, we need to remember this one simple fact. Practice what you preach. Of what you do and what you do, then you can earn respect. If you're a hard worker, if you're a good at whatever you do, therefore you can actually give advice. If you can't even do what you want somebody else to do, you're just playing some sort of a game. So if we cannot take care of our homeland, who are we to go to another country and tell them how to take care of their land if we can't even protect ourselves? That's my point.
Well, Jay, to your point, Yoram Hazony writes about this in kind of the promotion of the idea of nationalism is, and he's an Israeli political philosopher, what you end up doing is dropping Americans oftentimes into other cultures. And we don't understand the uniqueness and the distinctions of those cultures. And then we think, oh, we're going to bring democracy. And for instance, in Afghanistan, you spent 20 plus years trying to instill democracy. And 4 days after we left, they kicked all the girls out of the school. So if the culture is not willing to embrace what we're trying to spread throughout the world, trying to be America's police force, or trying to be the world police force across the globe, doesn't always work out.
Well, if you can't take care of your own home, we're not taking care of our own homeland. Look at the problems that we have here.
Yeah.
So if we don't solve our own problems, who are we to tell somebody else, another country, how are we supposed to tell somebody else how they should take care of theirs? And why should we get involved in them if we can't even take care of our own?
That's a great point, Jay Sterling. Appreciate you being on the call. Thanks so much. Jay's line will be open 303-696-1971. When we come back, James Carville's laid out a pathway for Kamala Harris to be victorious. Is he right? We'll get into that and more. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Is Serpent Head right? We'll talk about it.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations, you won the lottery. You woke up in the greatest country in history, and we're off and running this morning, making a difference in the land of the free. Your phone calls, your texts are always welcome here at 710 KNUS. Give us a call at 303-696-1971 or text us at 720-892-6757. We're covering all the news and commentary you need for this Wednesday, September 4th, 2004. So grab your coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, Eli Bremer is going to join us. Is he the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party? Is Dave Williams the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, and from what I understand, talking to lawyers, it comes down to a comma or a lack thereof in the bylaws. So they're going to court
over a comma.
And is Eli Bremer evicting Dave Williams? Is it right for him to be doing that? Or is this just a big distraction? Come on, people. We're 60 days out from this, from ballots dropping. We got to get to work here. And you all are just creating a bunch of division within the Colorado Republican Party. Where do you stand on that? We're going to get the insight. And that's the tough questions of Eli Bremer when he joins us during the 9 o'clock hour. Coming up after the news and commentary with Blake Olson, James Carville's got the winning strategy for Kamala Harris's to beat Donald Trump. We're going to walk through this. Do you think Donald Trump's in trouble right now?
Ooh, that's a good question because, a friend of the show and mentor to me and somewhat you too, is Peter Boyles has been talking about that on the weekend show here on KNUS about is Trump in trouble and why and what does this look like going forward and what are the possible weaknesses? This could be interesting.
Yeah, so would love to hear from you on this analysis as well. Phone calls are starting to come in. All right, let's turn it over to news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
I don't know. It's a ship of fools. That's what the problem is. James Carville. Oh,
It's all baloney.
Now, Blake, we were having this conversation off air.
No, I just tell you.
and Billy goes, he looks like a snake. And I said, Bill, you have every right to say that considering how many snakes you own. But is that a disparagement to the snakes? That James Carville looks like a snake, because I actually think snakes are quite beautiful.
Yeah,
and I think James Carville I would not put in the category of being beautiful.
You know what? You're right. I've never seen a snake that ugly. There's no. I saw a rattlesnake over the weekend. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
ooh, where'd you find? Where
is it still alive?
At the let's see, horse tooth. Yep.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
It's still alive. Yeah,
horse tooth. We got a lot of them out there.
Yeah, I just stuck my finger in there and see if he give me a little kiss.
Yeah,
now, Bill, I think it would be fun to take a little field trip down to that rattlesnake den.
Oh yeah, that would be fascinating.
That'd
be really interesting.
And you can tell us all about it. It'd be Billy's trip to the rattlesnake den.
Here's the fun part. Now with our prairie rattlesnakes, let's look at this for a second, just as a little bit of hint when you're out there and you're walking around.
I want to apologize for what I've unleashed.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm just going to tell you, this is about safety. I'm just saying this is about safety. Okay, some snakes can almost jump forward when they're attacking, etc., when they're striking. Prairie rattlesnakes are not one of them. So if you're looking at the prairie rattlesnake, when it's rearing up, it can only go as far forward up until the body portions that are on the ground. It can move the body forward a little bit, but if you're looking at how far away do I have to get from this snake, do a rough estimate about how much of the body is off the ground and add a couple inches. That's an easy way to figure out how far away you need to be. You don't have to get 7 feet away from the snake. You just have to understand what is the striking distance. So this is just a PSA for everybody wandering around and they run into their little slithery friends out there. Just look at how the body coils are and just be further away than the body coils.
That's good advice, Bill. Now, I want to tell you a story that may be a little tragic to you.
Uh-oh.
I was in grad school. I was sitting there studying at my desk.
Yeah.
And my roommate, who's quite adventurous, comes in and tosses onto my desk while I'm sitting there.
Yeah.
A rattlesnake rattle.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, where'd you get this? He's like, I hit it mountain biking.
Oh.
And then he pulled out a pocket knife and cut off the rattle and took it home with him.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I get it. And
Is that legal? Can you take rattles?
Yeah, I think you
Oh,
can.
yeah.
I think
Wow.
you can. The other part is I understand why in certain instances you got to kill the rattlesnakes. I mean, I have friends that are farmers and ranchers.
Yeah.
And you've got to, because they are dangerous in that area. And there's certain times when you have prairie dog infestations, yeah, you leave those alone. But if they're in cattle pastures, yes, because they're dangerous for the cattle. You don't want the cattle getting bit. So yes,
Right.
those are rattlesnakes. Yeah, take the head off. Other snakes will come in and they'll fill that void in the ecosystem because there will be other predators that will adapt. Bull snakes being the most notable.
You ever
So,
owned a
yeah.
rattlesnake, Bill?
No, but I've had both a bull snake and a hognose snake, which both resemble our
Yeah,
prairie
right.
rattlesnakes. Hognose, especially. It is the only time. Okay, we're going to go down a little trip here. Yes, the only time, and this brought young prepubescent Bill so much joy. I'm probably 13 at the time, and a friend of my father's is really, really afraid of rattlesnakes. Went hunting with him a lot. I've known him since I was a little kid. I have a large female hognose, and they look almost identical in our region to prairie rattlesnakes, and they act the same because that's part of their defensive mechanism. They're completely and totally harmless. In fact, if you bother the snake enough, a hognose, it'll play dead. We don't want to go into that now, but it will legitimately play dead, but it will act like a rattlesnake. So we told my dad's friend we had caught a new snake and come and see it, and he doesn't like it. Gets to the doorway of my room and gets 2 steps in, and I tap the side of the cage, and the female just puffs up and goes, psst, and starts rattling the tail. I have never heard a grown man scream louder or higher in my entire life, and he ran 3 rooms away and refused. He didn't even want to go. My room is right near the bathroom. Unless I close the door to my room, he wouldn't go to the bathroom in our house. And I'm sorry, that is a point of joy for a young kid that's keeping snakes to have a grown man go, blah! And run out of your room. That's something that is special. You take that and keep it for you the rest of your life.
This rattlesnake ends up near Fort Collins there.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
No, I heard about it. I want to go check it out though.
Yeah,
I think that's
and they it's at different sizes, and they'll use it to be, and they're basically, it's a ball. They're somewhat social creatures. They don't necessarily compete as much for food, but there is going to be a problem with some of the larger and smaller ones because they will compete for resources in some. But it's like garter snakes. Garter snakes are incredibly social. If you see one garter snake in your yard, you got 7 because they will live in communities. They're great to watch, but yeah,
they're fun to watch.
Megaden.
Yeah,
so much better than Carville.
So you can go to rattlecam.org.
Yeah, I've watched it a couple of times.
Rattlecam.org. All right.
Rattlecam.org. Bill,
Well,
thanks so
check
much for
that
telling
out.
us about your snake.
And just remember, the safety portion of this program is about look for the body coils that are off the ground at a couple of inches. That's as far as the snake can get. So that's how far away you need to be
good
from the
stuff.
snake. Yeah. PSA
All
for
right.
it today.
All right, 66 and sunny. Thank you, guys. Expecting a high of 82 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, Kamala Khan expected to announce a tax cut for small businesses today. She had 3.5 years to do it. What happened? So the presidential race remains wide open, according to a CNN poll, which tells me everything. Kamala Khan leads former President Trump 50 to 44% in Wisconsin, 48 to 43% in Michigan, while Trump holds a 49 to 44 advantage in Arizona. It's all to discourage you. Vote early, get in there, bring the family, friends. Let's go. Harris also leads Trump by a narrow margin, they say, of 48 to 47% in both Georgia and Nevada. In Pennsylvania, the candidates are tied at 47%, despite the fake Philadelphia Eagles posters that claim that they endorse Harris. It's counterfeit, cheaters. So the Eagles fan, that Eagles fan, he continues to tape up the truth.
I love the Eagles, loyal to them to the end. I am a Republican, just to say that to you, but my concern here is that is not that someone is expressing an opinion, which everyone's entitled to do, but this person is lying to everyone that comes and uses this stop. Okay, that's what I'm very concerned about. The fact that they're spreading lies that the Philadelphia Eagles endorsed Kamala Harris.
That's right. And it's an ugly painting of her with a football helmet on as well. Hey, Taylor Swift and Lady Gaga say they will leave the United States if Trump becomes president in 2024.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Trump is pleading not guilty after he once again indicted for election interference in 2020. Special counsel Jack Smith filed a revised indictment last week after the Supreme Court ruled that former presidents have some immunity for their actions while in office. Now, here's one. Travis Kelce's PR team forced to make a statement after an alleged breakup contract with Taylor Swift spread online. The statement comes after a document with the Full Scope PR company. Their logo was leaked with this statement. The alleged contract says that Kelce and Swift would be breaking up on September 28th. Quote, Travis and Taylor have decided to part ways after careful consideration. They both value and respect each other's personal lives and appreciate your respect for privacy during this time. The alleged document read on the letterhead, with the letterhead, and Full Scope PR says that the document is entirely false and fabricated and were not created, issued, or authorized by this agency.
He could have handled this much, much differently, and he could have come out of this looking like the hero, to be honest with you. And he
Danielle Jurinsky talking about the governor on Tuesday with Jeff and Billy. The Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office says that 4 people who were arrested in Aurora last month have ties to that Venezuelan gang, TDA. The alleged gang members and associates were arrested at the Ivy Crossing Apartments, and investigators say they were involved in drug trafficking and car thefts. Officers reportedly seized 750 counterfeit pills, ketamine, and a stolen car as a result of the investigation. On Tuesday, a large group was on hand at the apartment complex, becoming infamous in Aurora, and they say there are no problems at all. Nothing to see here. Jury questioning will continue today in the Boulder King Soopers massacre trial. Those selected will be deciding whether Ahmad Alyssa is guilty of killing 10 people inside and outside of King Soopers, or if he's not guilty by reason of insanity. The judge expects the jury to be seated by Friday and says trial will last 3 weeks. 64 in Parker, 63 in Westminster, and 66 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue on Hump Day. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
A Pacific cool front is descending south and east into the region. This is going to lead to a cooling trend and a better chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms today, tonight, and into Thursday. Then back to dry, fair weather again for Friday and the weekend. Low 80s today, developing showers and thunderstorms. Some will continue overnight, lows 50s, only 70s Thursday with some lingering showers and thunderstorms. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, we're a week away from
the snake cam on YouTube.
What?
Snake cam.
Oh, he's got it up there.
Adam is running the snake cam. We're looking at a pretty little baby rattler right now. If you're joining us on the YouTubes or the Rumbles or the Twitters or the X's or whatever the hell we call them. Now, that one there, if you're looking at it, it's a black and white. That's a baby. That's a young one. But that's also exanthic. I know I'm a nerd for a sec here.
We're on Billy's.
It is. This is like my happy place.
An animal adventure tour.
Yeah, it is. That's an exanthic morph, and it's not necessarily unusual for what you find in Colorado because of our geography, but it is a genetic mutation. That rattlesnake has a hard time producing any yellow coloring. You'll see some browns and blacks and appear as it gets older, especially in the saddles, but around the rest of the body. Normally, you would see some yellowing that would appear along the throat and around the lower jaw as it gets older, but that one will not be able to produce any yellow because it's an axanthic morph. You can see it because it's the heavy grays and brown and blacks as it's younger. So yeah, it's got a gene mutation in there. And so in the wild, yeah, it's morphed that way because as you can see, when it's hiding in the rocks, it fits in very well with the shadows. The gray, as far as the granite rocks it's around, and a lot of the other metamorphic rocks. And so that's why they end up that way. And then you get out into the further in the plains outside of the Fort Collins area, which is more mountainous. You get into the eastern plains and they turn brown. And that's why.
Wow.
I know.
You and Steve Irwin.
Again, this is the thing is I can't do long division well, but I got that stupid stuff stuck in my brain. There are just some files on the desktop I can't delete. That's the problem I have.
There was a show with Steve-O called Wild Boys where they would just like throw themselves into pits of, whatever animals.
Oh yeah, that was stupidity. But yeah, that was funny. That was funny to watch. And I love Steve Irwin. Steve Irwin rocks, man. That's my happy place. The other one you should go watch, but again, nobody else other than my reptile friends, people like Dav Kaufman. Fantastic dude out there doing some great work. And unfortunately, we just recently lost Brian Barczyk to pancreatic cancer, and he was a great ambassador for the reptile industry. But okay, I'm going to shut up now.
I send Billy. I get these Instagram videos of people like walking around showing a snake, and they absolutely flip out. But I don't know, kind of funny.
I love it.
All right, so we are less than a week away from the first presidential debate between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. ABC announced last month that the first debate will take place in Philadelphia at the National Constitutional Center on Tuesday, September 10th. Now, this is I'm really fascinated by this because Kamala Harris has done one interview in 40 days, right? She doesn't like anything that's totally unscripted. She wants to be in the room where everything's provided for her on the teleprompter and she can just read off of it. And we covered her debate last week, the day afterwards, and I thought it was a disaster for her. I don't think she performed that well. I don't think she thinks that well on her feet. In contrast, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have done well over 30 interviews with major media in the same time period. They're happy to talk to people. And if you talk about Donald Trump's debate prep, he'll often say, well, I just go and talk to people. I talk to the average voter. I'm happy to just be out there and interact with people. And that prepares me to take the tough questions. But yesterday's New York Times, James Carville, remember James? It's kind of the balding Louisianan that helped Bill Clinton be successful in his races. And he's famous for the old quote, "It's the economy, stupid." Well, he laid out in the New York Times a strategy for Kamala Harris to defeat Donald Trump. Here's my thoughts. Do you think that this is going to work? Or here's the question I have for you all. Do you think that this is going to work? Number one, help Mr. Trump hurt himself in the debate. If there's one thing Americans love, it's a train wreck. That's why we're addicted to Dance Moms and Real Housewives. Just over 2 months ago, we witnessed one in real time, and it led to the humane revolt against a sitting president's re-election campaign by his own party. I guarantee a lot of voters are salivating for a second round. Only this time, Mr. Trump must be the train wreck. And it's on Miss Harris to lay the tracks. Okay. He goes on to say, I've always believed that one good joke is worth 100 fact checks. By and large, Miss Harris is diverging from the normal fear-provoking way of going about Mr. Trump. Instead of building him up as a threat to America, she's getting voters chuckling and nodding by saying of the former president and his crew, they are out of their minds. People, really? You think that makes people laugh? I don't know. Sorry, I'm diverging from this because I can't get through it without criticizing it. He thinks that people are laughing when Kamala Harris says that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are out of their minds. I'm sorry, Billy. I just saw the Ronald Reagan movie. Okay. I can remember when a president could tell a funny joke.
Yeah.
Just saying people are out of their minds. That's not funny. Come on. All right. People smile when they think a politician has her opponent's number. And they like that she's calling him weird and unserious and painting a broader picture of Mr. Trump as a tired old tapestry. Now, here's where he gets to the strategy for Kamala Harris next week. This is where Bill, I just don't think she's going to deliver this. This
Yeah.
is such a tall order.
Yeah.
Here he goes. In September 10th debate, Miss Harris must enable exactly what his campaign is scared to death of, letting Trump be Trump. She should let him talk over her. Well, first of all, they can't do that because they mute the mics in between the questions.
But are they in this one? I'm not sure, because I know they were
I
discussing
thought that was
it.
in the agreement.
I'm not. I know there was a. I haven't followed up on it, but I know that the first one was. But in this one, there's been a conversation between back and forth about whether or not the mics were going to be muted on ABC.
Yeah.
And the weird part is, Harris wants them open. Trump's team wants them closed.
Yeah, right.
That's
because it
interesting.
actually worked well with him. The rules for the debate, let me go back. Well, this is USA Today. The rules for the last debate meant that each candidate's microphone was. Trump announced on social, sorry, I'm reading this live here now. He accepted the September 10th debate under the same conditions as the June debate.
Oh, interesting. So we're going to close the microphones. Okay.
I think so.
Interesting.
Seems to be. All right, going back to James Carville. This is what he wants Kamala Harris to do. And let me know if you think she can deliver on this. She should let him talk over, or should let him talk over her, not just let him, but goad him into spouting insane conspiracy theories about the previous election. She should use her sense of humor at key moments to get under his skin and show he is not getting to her. She should welcome the personal attacks as a badge of honor, and each time, no matter how many times he does it, respond with this refrain. It's the same old tired playbook, and I'm focused on a new way forward. Do you think that Kamala Harris can deliver that, Bill?
Yeah, I think she can. I think she can if she has the strategy right.
I don't think she's smart enough to pull that together. Are you kidding me?
I think she is.
She can hardly answer a question from Dana Bash.
I disagree. You don't like the answer she gave to Dana Bash, but she did perform what was needed.
She danced right. It was word salad, word salad, word salad. There's nothing concrete there.
I know that, but have you listened to Trump's responses? The criticism of word salads from Kamala doesn't hold when Trump wanders far afield on any question he had. You saw even in the press conferences, even in when he outlines his economy plan, he wanders all over the place. So the criticism of word salad, unfortunately, because of the competing candidate, while correct, doesn't hold a lot of water because the other person's doing the same thing.
The idea that Kamala Harris is going to be able to parry and block and dance and move and use her sense of humor and go Donald Trump and respond to the personal attacks with the line and refrain that it's the old tired playbook. The idea that that person is going to be able to operate at that level. And Billy, you were in the debate club. To be able to, I can't operate at that level. To be able to operate at that level, you have to be a master debater, they say. I don't think she can deliver that at all. I think she's going to stand there and just fumble over her answers. And Donald Trump is going to do the same thing he did to Joe Biden, where he basically goes, I don't know what he just said.
See, I think that actually is going to be the play for Kamala. That when Trump gets into his long list of grievances, that's how she's going to play it. When you talked about the example number one, the idea of pulling Trump into those conflicts and making him feel silly, that I think is going to be her strategy, not Trump's. And because he could say, I don't know, he just said, based on Biden, that is going to be more difficult with Kamala. And I just have to remind everyone that she was a prosecutor and does have experience cross-examining people. She's not nearly as good as friend of the show, George Brockler, but she is, from what I've read, never heard or seen anything. She's average, but that's just enough, I believe, to be able to counteract some of the stuff that Trump does. Yeah.
All right. To all of y'all texting in pictures of snakes now.
Oh, no. I asked Jay to. Yeah, because I asked him, off-air conversation. He has a question.
They're
about a snake.
sending in pictures. This is what you've done
This is
to
awesome.
us, Billy. Oh, my God.
These are my people.
They're texting in pictures of snakes.
Ooh,
All right.
that's a pretty
Number two. This is a big one. James Carville is arguing that it is absolutely necessary for Kamala Harris to break from President Biden on policy in order to win. Now, during the discussion, the one interview she did with Dana Bash and CNN, she refused to. She didn't break with him at all. Not one iota. And in this case, he is saying Mr. Biden has been one of the most consequential presidents in U.S. history. Yada, yada, yada. Here's an idea. You need to break from President Biden to be, quote, certified as a fresh candidate. She must clearly and decisively break from Mr. Biden on a set of policy priorities she believes would define her presidency. Does she still have no platform up?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, but
I don't think she has a plan.
Yeah, but she has given speeches and outlined things. She's given an economy speech and stuff like that. They are rough sketches. They're not details, but they're no more
on that price gap.
Yeah, but they're no more detailed than what Trump has offered. So again, that's the
no
issue.
more detailed.
Yeah, no more details.
He's got a whole policy platform listed on his website.
He does. Hang on, he has a policy platform listed, but does he go into any of the minutia more than take on price gouging? No, not at all. Not in the least.
No, it's a much more detailed plan, and you have nothing on the Harris Walls campaign. Nothing. I'm looking at their website. There's still nothing there. She can't break with Biden on policy because she can't think independently. She can only do what she's told.
Yeah, I would disagree. I mean,
Prove me wrong.
Well,
Call in, you callers. Tell me how great
she was. The
Kamala Harris is.
DA of California, who was telling her what to do. That's the thing is.
Do you want me to say? Sure. Am I allowed to say?
Sure, go right ahead. That's the other thing is, who's the person controlling? Then and you have to show and draw that. I understand. I understand the criticism.
I don't know. Maybe.
Well, no, Willie Brown wasn't involved in her when she was DA of California. When she was the AG, no.
I don't think she has any idea what she wants to deliver for the American people other than what she's told. There's nothing on her website to say that. And the idea that she's going to break from Joe Biden and develop a new policy agenda that she wants to deliver. We're 60 days out from ballots being dropped. I don't see that. There's nothing there. I've never in my life seen such an empty presidential candidate as Kamala Harris.
I think some of the stuff she outlined in her economy speech was different than what Biden said. And so that would reach the qualifications that you wanted, which is just to be different. And this is just advice from Carville.
Said some stuff. There's no policy listed there on her website. She wants to be the president of the United States.
But
all right.
Is the fact of putting it on a website make it better? I'm not certain that makes it better.
More concrete?
Fair point.
All right. Number 3, display a clear growth mindset from the 2020 Democratic primaries. Ms. Harris's political dance will grow more complicated before Election Day. At the same time, she must break from Mr. Biden on some policy measures. She has one lingering liability she will not be able to outrun: the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination campaign, in which she and a gaggle of candidates favored more exotic positions within the Democratic Party. As last week's CNN interview with Ms. Harris showed, this will be a consistent plot line deployed at her throughout this campaign. It is vital that she give the same answer every time to these attacks. The retort can be simple: I learned from my time governing in the White House. These are my positions. Take it or leave it. Is that enough? Is that enough to cover the flip-flop, especially on fracking, which was an absolute flip-flop? What do you think? All right, Marty, we're going to get to you in just a second. Hey, it's Jeff from the Jeff and Bill Show for my friends at Mountain High Appliance. They've cooked up some sizzling deals for your kitchen. Now, for a limited time, receive up to a $1,500 mail-in rebate with the purchase of qualifying Bosch appliances. Enjoy the Mountain High Appliance price match guarantee and special financing options. Visit one of their 4 locations for all the details and upgrade your kitchen with Bosch appliances in Denver at East 64th, Littleton, Louisville, and Glenwood Springs. Mountain High Appliance. Experience the difference. All right, Marty, you're going to be up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. James Carville's laid out a strategy for Kamala Harris to win. Right? Number one, help Mr. Trump hurt himself in the debates. Number two, break from President Biden on policy. Number three, display a clear growth mindset from the 2020 Democratic primaries, where she really engaged in the progressive ideology. The three-step plan for Kamala Harris to defeat Donald Trump. I don't think Kamala Harris has ever had an original thought in her life. She has no policy platforms listed on her website. I don't think she's going to beat Donald Trump in the debates. I don't think she can break from Joe Biden in policies. And I don't think it's convincing at all that she has a, quote, clear growth mindset from what she said in 2020. Let's go to the phone lines. Marty, Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, guys, this is outrageous, Billy. Your defense of Kamala Harris borders on the line of shock jock radio. I mean, are you kidding me? This woman versus Trump in a mano a mano. It's not a fair fight. But, Billy, I think we can get on air and we can come to the reasonable conclusion. It's Donald Trump on November 5.
Really? Why do we come to that conclusion?
I'm going to give it to you in like 30 seconds. Here's what it sounds like. Is which political party, Billy, do you deem responsible for our migrant invasion and our migrant crime surge in America? Which party? It's a binary choice.
Why do you get to say it's one party or the other? I think both are responsible. Why is that a hard thing to get to?
51%, 49. Would you dare tip the scale to the Democrats? Because see, if you're going to defend the indefensible, you got to be exposed right here.
Well, here, Marty, hang on a sec. Stop there, Marty. You say it's indefensible. What I'm asking you is that we did have, and again, nobody liked it, but there was a bipartisan bill just a little while ago. Hang on. Just a little while ago that could have moved the needle. If we are so worried about the migrant invasion that is happening now, arguing over who gets credit for it is BS. I'm going to throw the BS flag right now that just because the Democrats finally came to the table in an election year to get a lot of what the Republicans have been asking for, that they decided not to play along, that's politics. That's not solving the problem. And if you're telling me, like everybody has been for the past 3 years, that this is a danger to the country and something has to be done now, then when presented with not a perfect solution, but a solution that did include many of the things the GOP had been asking for them to refuse to do anything about it, is politics. And that's BS. And that's why I blame both parties. Neither party really wants to fix this. They want to use it as a political cudgel. Continue.
That's not fair. They'd already let 10 to 12 million migrant in when they came up with that bill. Our current administration. Now, are you
now, Marty, you know that illegal immigrants happened during the Trump administration and Obama and Clinton and Bush. Okay. So it is
not
a
like
constant.
This, though.
No, it is a constant. So just saying this one and this group, you're being myopic. That's fair because it makes your point, but you're not being fair intellectually on the conversation. Both parties are responsible.
Think about it like a stock chart. And the surge that we've had with the Biden-Harris team, that's like a NASDAQ bubble or a big jump up, a big bull rally. But it's always been going on. I'm admitting that. The surge, though, that we saw basically day one of the administration is unprecedented. We've never had anything like this. That you cannot not acknowledge. We've never seen this kind of lawlessness at the border. Is that fair?
No, not necessarily fair at all.
Not fair.
No, because there have been larger influxes of total immigrants in this country in our history. In fact, there was a time in which we didn't even take any immigration, just show up on the borders and good luck. That was it. So the idea that this is this giant influx that is untoward in American history, I disagree with based on percentages. Is it much larger than it has been in the last 20 years? Yes. Is it an issue? Absolutely. Perfect. Yes. Absolutely. Sure.
Okay. And for most people, so we're right there now. We're right where we need to be. Most people, they're going to view that as a concern. Certainly our Aurora residents that are going to see property values decline and crime go up and businesses flee. We know that's all coming. You're in the minority, though, to not see it as this big a deal. I think the average person is.
I didn't say it was a big deal. You're you're making assumptions about me just because it makes your argument better. I never said it wasn't. No, Marty, I never said it wasn't a big deal, but you put those words in my mouth. Continue.
Well, but then we got to go to, let's look at the source. And I know, I'm not even go to the border czar. I don't even like that term. I know she's not in charge. I know Alejandro Mayorkas is the one doing this. So, but let's just say, after all the dust is clear, and you love what Kamala can do, and you love, she's responsible for this migrant makeover of America that's permanent, Billy, and you can't get past that. It's like the babysitter burns your house down. I know you didn't mean for that, but I'm sorry, I can never let you watch my house again. And that's Kamala Harris. That's where she's going to be. We don't trust you. We seek and smell a lie out of almost every breath. And I think Willie Brown does need to be talked to about a lot more. And Montel Williams, this is not a woman of character. We bash Trump all the time. This is a woman sleeping her way to the top.
Really? I got stop right there. Okay, let's put a pin in that. Talk to me about how she slept her way to the top. How did she sleep her way to the vice presidency? How'd that happen?
Well, Willie Brown, okay, who was a married 60-year-old mayor, had no problem saying, yeah, she was a mistress. I got her plugged into the California political scene, and off she went. I mean, how did any of these people emerge?
Obama wasn't sleeping with Willie Brown. Stop this, Marty. I mean, stay on topic here. Because now, no, but you're running far afield on this. Let's stick back to this. No, Marty. Willie Brown and Kamala did have a relationship. Now, he put her on a couple of very minor type of board positions. He did not get her the position in the law firm. She did not get her the position as the DA of San Francisco. That's nothing that he had the opinion or the ability to do, in part because they voted her in. So unless you're telling me that in order to get elected DA, she went around and slept with a majority of San Francisco, unless you're telling me that in a majority of Californians had to sleep with her too because they reelected her as DA and then slept with a majority of Americans because that's how she got to vice president. Unless you're telling me that, you can't back up the statement she slept her way to the top. You're putting a pin on Willie Brown, a relationship years and years ago, and somehow trying to draw a conclusion about that's the only way that she can get to the top. And I'm sorry, that's a touch offensive to any female that has been placed in a position like that, because your assumption is there's no way she could possibly be qualified unless she's lifting her skirt and spreading her legs. So check
That's
yourself.
Exactly what I'm saying with Kamala Harris.
And you're exactly
qualified.
wrong. You're wrong. Who did she sleep with in order to be DA, Marty? Go for it. Who? How'd she sleep? How'd she sleep to get DA?
So this is the way this works. I'm not saying she slept for that position, but
no, stop. No, Marty, stop. You said she slept her way to the top. We are going to work through this together. That's how the show works. Okay. How did she sleep her way to the district attorney's position and then to AG? Go.
She's having a sexual relationship with Willie Brown, who's the mayor.
Not at the time when she was AG. So tell me how she slept her way to the top.
Okay, so that's what got her fed into this system. And so when the law firms, the notable law firms in California and the San Francisco area say, and Willie Brown says, hey, you should take a look at my my gal. And they get her in the system. And now all of a sudden she's inching her way up in power. She sleeps with Montel Williams. And now she's access to another shape and form of power, Hollywood power, entertainment power. I mean, you don't think that went on? You think this is a choir girl? I mean, what are we talking about? A Girl Scout? What are you thinking?
I didn't say that she was a Girl Scout, but yet you have not shown me how she slept her way to either the DA position or the AG. You've said she had a relationship with Willie Brown and then had a relationship with Montel Williams. Last time I checked, Montel Williams doesn't get to name the district attorney or the AG. Dude, this is really bad.
Here's a question I have for you both, and I love your response. We have dove into every aspect of Donald Trump's sex life. I mean, you had Jimmy Kimmel asking the porn star what it looks like. Point out, I got a whole bunch of little mushrooms here. Tell me what you think it looks like. They have done. Is it sexist to do the same thing to Kamala Harris?
No. I mean, if that's what we want to talk about as far as the relationship with Willie Brown, go right ahead. I got no problem with that if they want to talk about that.
But you made a critique that talking about her sex life, and maybe it wasn't just talking about her sex life, was somehow demeaning of all women.
No, not at all. The issue is this. The issue is because she had a relationship with Willie Brown before she was elected DA, before she was elected AG, before she was elected senator, before she was elected VP. That relationship happened before all of those happened. But the conclusion that Marty says and that everybody else says is that she slept her way to the top. The only relationship they can point to is the Willie Brown at the beginning. Nothing along the way. So it is not a fair critique to say that she slept her way to the top. And when you say she did, absence any proof at all, you're saying a woman can't possibly achieve this because the only way it could ever happen is if she slept her way to the top. That's the issue. Done.
Bill, don't become a raging feminist over Kamala Harris. She's not worthy of that. This was not a noble woman.
How is that a feminism thing? Okay.
Oh, that women can do anything and anything you dare critique. I'm not even saying it has nothing to do with that. This is
hold on. Wait. You got to go back to that. You said that I'm saying that women can do anything. You don't think they can? You don't think they can do anything?
No, I think
no, they don't.
Do certain. Not at all. Just like men shouldn't be, the lead at a daycare.
Why not? Why would? Wait, I know male nurses. Why can't men be nurses? Explain that one to me.
Do you like having a male nurse? Have you ever been in the ER with I don't know, sort of a flamboyant male nurse? You like that, or do you like kind of like your mom?
We're peeling this. Now, here's the thing, Marty, we're peeling this onion back. Very interesting on your behavior today, because, again, I talked about male nurses, and all of a sudden you made them effeminate. You've now made them homosexuals that you obviously disagree with.
Well,
there's nothing about any of the male nurses that I know that are homosexual. They're married. I know people that are fine, upstanding men that will go chase skirts with you as long as you want. But because you see them in a job you don't feel as masculine, you view them as effeminate. No. How about you talk to Gunnery Sargent that's on here? That's the head spokesperson for Trump, for Veterans for Trump. She is a very powerful, strong woman. According to what I'm hearing from you, you don't think she can do the job. Is that correct?
Necessarily.
Is that correct?
Not necessarily.
Well, what?
No,
but how? But you just told me the nurses. Guys can't be nurses. They couldn't possibly run a daycare because obviously, Marty, according to you, in order to run a daycare, it takes ovaries.
Well, it takes mother's nurture, mother's nature. Mother's got that special, and you know that. When your kids get hurt, do they come to dad for that, or they come to mom? I mean, everybody knows that, right?
No, Marty. Not everybody does know that. No, Marty. Not everybody does. That's your worldview. That's not it. I know.
It's
men
very
that have been
biblical. That's for sure.
That's true. But again, we're not going through biblical stuff. That's not what we're talking about, man. Let's go back to Kamala Harris again. It's your view. Okay, let's. Okay, can a woman be president? Let's play this one. Can a woman be president in your view? What do you think?
Can it happen? Yes. Is it proper?
Can they do the job?
Order? I think it would take the most unique, special woman, and I don't think we have one right now. So
Why?
The answer as it stands right now is no.
Okay, then what are the characteristics that a woman does not possess that means she cannot be the leader of America? What doesn't she have outside of just having swinging things between her legs? What is it, man? Tell me.
Well, it's that position like president requires an alpha male. Okay, and typically a male that knows exactly when to flex and when not. See, a woman has never had that in her DNA. It's unfortunate that they just don't have the testosterone and the alpha.
So the testosterone just becomes testosterone. So, okay, so you'd be okay with a transgender president, a female that's taking testosterone. No. You said it was testosterone. So if we add the testosterone into the women's genetics, obviously you'd be okay with it because now we've added the testosterone. So transgender is good, right, Marty? Because that's what you just said. You said it was testosterone, right?
Let me clarify. I need XY chromosome in the White House only.
Okay,
right.
So what is it about those what is it about those chromosomes that make their decision making better?
Okay, well, alpha men have, and you go back, George Washington style of leading a nation, leading your people. There's a certain nature of alpha, and that's why you people don't like Trump. Is yes, he's got some arrogance. He's an egomaniac. He's very successful.
So he's a narcissist.
But he's an alpha male. Okay, fair. But he's an alpha male at the end of the day. He walks in the room, and other men know their role, kind of like the animal kingdom.
I disagree with that.
Influence.
No, Putin didn't respect him at all. Neither did Xi. Not at all. There's nothing about alpha male. That's nothing at all.
Well, we certainly know that Joe Biden is not, and so that Stevie Wonder can see that.
Marty, I appreciate the call, and man, that was interesting.
Homework for you, Marty. Go look at the research that the the biologist that originally did the study on alpha males and wolves. Take a look at what he's done and what he says now. Take a look before you start throwing out the alpha male stuff. Take a look at what the guy who did the research says now. Might be interesting for you, and we can talk about it later.
Well, the text messages are on either side of that one, Bill. That was a fun debate.
That was so much fun.
Marty, Eric likes Marty, and 6430 says, "OMG, Bill, I love you so much. Keep it up."
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I fully believe that a woman would make a fine president, and that woman will be Nicole Hunt. Just watch.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be this woman, but a woman can do the job 110%. And
100%.
Nicole could make a great argument for being that woman.
She'd make a fine president.
She would make a wonderful president.
Look, pain from arthritis is just awful. Bone on bone, constant pain. It robs you of so much of the stuff you love to do, but there are effective ways to deal with that pain. And I'm not talking about drugs or surgery. Listen, there are exciting new cellular therapies that can get you long-lasting relief. And the place to go? QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalize. I'm still thinking about that debate. That was hilarious. Revitalizing your joints so you can move again. If you're living with chronic pain from arthritis or injury, you need to know steroids and surgery and pain pills are no longer your only options. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance the joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative cellular treatments for your achy joints. Look, this is the future of medicine. I've had family members just have knee replacements, and it's going to be 3 months before they're at 80%. Why go through all of that when you could try QC Kinetics and have this grow naturally without losing your mobility and having to have all that downtime and take drugs, all that? Try QC Kinetics. Give them a free they'll give you a free consultation. Call them now, 303-900-8986. 303-900-8986 with locations in Aurora, Superior, Colorado Springs, and Highlands Ranch. We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
right, coming up at 9 o'clock hour, Eli Bremer joins us. Is he the real chairman of the Colorado Republican Party? We'll get all the details from him. You heard from Dave Williams yesterday. The debate happens here. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Let them fight. Let them fight. Let them fight. Let them fight.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Wednesday, September 4th. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You listen to the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Apparently, Billy is the feminist, according to Marty. But we are off and running, and this hour you're absolutely not going to want to miss. Joining us in just a second, Eli Bremer, chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, or a distractor? You decide on the 710 KNUS show. We're going to get to him talking about what happened over the weekend. Does he recognize it? Is he off and working? Does it even matter to him? Where's this all going to fall in the court system? Who is the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. Man, you think Real Housewives of Orange County has drama? They ain't got nothing on us here.
Nothing.
Colorado Republican Party. So very excited to hear from Eli. Appreciate him taking time to be on the show. But first, let's check in on news and commentary with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 72 and sunny, expecting a high of 82 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, Judge Mersham in New York. Remember him, the shammer? Well, he just rejected former President Trump's second attempt to move his trial to federal court. Also, Trump is pleading not guilty after he once again was indicted for election interference. Special counsel Jack Wagon Smith filed a revised indictment last week after the Supreme Court ruled that former presidents have some immunity for their actions while in office. Kamala Khan expected to announce a tax cut for small businesses today. Not sure why she didn't do this the last 3 years. Oh, I know, because she didn't want to. And you know what? Hugh had this one this morning in 2017, Family Story Time by Harris.
I come from a long line of tough, trailblazing and phenomenal women. My grandmother would go into villages in India and because she was Indian and lived in India, and she would go to the villages in India. It was a famous story in our family. My grandfather would say she was going to be the end of his career, but my grandmother would go into the villages with a bullhorn, talking with the women about the need to have access to reproductive health care.
Reproductive health care!
I'm sure it wasn't like that, but you get the idea. Taylor Swift and Lady Gaga say that they will leave the U.S. if Trump becomes president.
Yes. 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 Yes.
At let's see, an event at one of Trump's golf courses to raise money for January 6th Capitol rioters is being postponed. The January 6th awards gala was scheduled for Thursday at Trump's New Jersey Golf Club to be hosted by a nonprofit group supporting those who took part in the attack. The event's organizer told Fox Business that the J6 awards gala was being postponed due to scheduling conflicts of invited guest speakers. Where is that thing? There it is.
I mean, I've watched so many folks walk this back. It's not even funny. And the thing is again, like I said, you know what? I knew this was going on for a long time. I asked questions. I asked for solutions.
Danielle Jurinsky, council member at large in Aurora, on with Jeff and Billy on Tuesday. The Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office says that 4 people who were arrested in Aurora last month have ties to the Venezuelan gang TDA. The alleged gang members and associates were arrested at the Ivy Crossing apartments, and investigators say they were involved in drug trafficking and car thefts. Officers reportedly seized 750 counterfeit pills, ketamine, and a stolen car. On Tuesday, a large group was on hand at the apartment complex becoming infamous in Aurora, and they say there are no problems at all there, nothing to see. Now, check this one out. This is like, I mean, we know this is going on, but here's a police officer telling a citizen reporting a crime that the guy's an illegal immigrant. They can't do anything, and he's let double homicide suspects off. Listen to this.
We'll grab his information and see what we can do.
So they're in the hallway. Here's the police officers with the people, the citizens reporting. Incredible.
First off, we're a sanctuary city. Even if he's legal here, we cannot call ICE.
Okay, but you still have to report that, right?
No, we don't. Because it's a sanctuary city. We do not report illegal undocumented.
So you're going to let a person who went to prison, he committed a crime in America, who's illegal right now, you're going to let him go free right now.
In this elevator. That's exactly what I'm saying. Because we're a sanctuary city. I've arrested a double homicide suspect in this city before and let him walk out the door. because we're a sanctuary city. We're not going to call ICE to come pick up and deport them.
Incredible. I mean, when you hear it, we all know it, we all talk about it, but when you see it and you hear it, it is just absolutely frightening. You get what you vote for. Sanctuary cities, total chaos. This is just nuts. And it's all by design by the left. The U.S. is changing or charging 6 Hamas leaders with terrorism and other crimes related to the October 7th attack in Israel. On Tuesday, the Justice Department announced the 6 defendants were identified by the FBI as leaders of Hamas, including the group's political head, Sinwar. All the tragedy that has occurred in Israel is due in part to the administration, says J.D. Vance.
Predictable. We know who Hamas is. We know the problems they have. We know the fact that they felt emboldened by Kamala Harris's policies, and we know they've been enriched by Iranian money that has flown to them because of Kamala Harris. So this is not unexpected, and it's going to keep on happening unless we fix this.
68 in Castle Rock, 69 in Arvada, 72 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. It's Wednesday, hump day. Have a great day. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
A Pacific cool front is descending south and east into the region. This is going to lead to a cooling trend and a better chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms today, tonight, and into Thursday. Then back to dry, fair weather again for Friday and the weekend. Low 80s today, developing showers and thunderstorms. Some will continue overnight, lows 50s, only 70s Thursday with some lingering showers and thunderstorms. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your future retirement with a reliable income stream. Annuities can provide guaranteed payments, giving you peace of mind. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, honored to have on the show with us is Eli Bremer. Eli, I think I can call you chairman. I don't know. I don't know if we have 2 chairmen. Give us the definitive answer. Are you the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party?
I am the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. I was elected on the 24th of August after the Censure Committee met, removed the previous leadership. And there's been a lot of kerfuffle around this, but yes, we are moving forward. We're moving forward to try to help Republicans win in November.
I want to ask you this. We hosted Dave Williams yesterday. Dave said that the meeting he had this past Saturday, he got more votes than you did. And if we use the math that you all are purporting to use, then Eric Odlin deserves more access to becoming the chairman than you do. What's your response to Dave Williams?
Well, that's sort of like saying Hillary Clinton should have beat Donald Trump in 2016 because she got more of the popular vote. That's actually not how the inter-party elections work at all. It's more smoke and mirrors from a group of people that has done nothing except obstruct Republicans and conservatives from getting elected. The party rules are very specific. We followed the rules. The folks that ran the recall, which was not me, they followed the rules to a T. They had multiple attorneys advising them on this. They followed the process. So, you know, if you support Hillary Clinton saying that because she won the popular vote, she's the president, then you're probably right down the strike zone of saying, okay, you can have the former party leadership hold a meeting that has no relevance, that is not sanctioned by the party, and they declare themselves the winner. It's just not how the rules work.
Now, last time we had you on, you mentioned that the NRCC was recognizing your chairmanship, but have you heard from the RNC yet? Have they fallen on either side of this issue?
No, and they won't until this goes through court adjudication here in Colorado. I've had a really good set of conversations now with Pete Hoekstra, who is the chairman of the Michigan Republican Party. As you and your listeners, I'm sure, know that Michigan went through almost an identical situation as we've done here. Chairman Hoekstra has been extremely helpful in understanding the process. And the RNC in Michigan, they jumped in a little too early there. and then they stepped out because they had to work on adjudicating facts and things like that that are frankly better done in a court of law. And there are state laws that have some impact on this. So it's going to get adjudicated in a court of law in Colorado first, and then the RNC will recognize following the legal piece.
And where are we in this process of adjudicating it in the Colorado court of law?
It will be probably heard within 2 weeks, and because of sort of the emergent nature of this. And at that point, the judge is going to look at the physical documents. They're going to look at the actual law and the relevant bylaws and things like that. So we'll sort of get away from this sort of dancing around and saying, well, a parliamentarian who we paid says this and a parliamentarian who we paid says that, and into the actual world of attorneys and following the law.
Now, Eli Bremer, we asked Dave Williams about some of the claims that you had made about the fact that the Colorado State Party hadn't been working, supporting the candidates that they should be. Gabe Evans up in Congressional District 8, Paul Lundeen, some of the things that you had tweeted out. And he said, absolutely false. I have the emails to prove it. Do you still stand by your statements that some of those races had not been working effectively with the Colorado Republican Party? And since you stepped in, you had built those bridges and now they were coordinating, working together.
100%. And nothing should speak louder to this than the fact that all of the competitive races had called for the removal of the former officers. If the state party had been working with them, they would have said, this is a distraction. Every single one of them has told me the exact same thing. They said, Eli, the state party had been a millstone around our neck and it was causing us problems. Your first task as our newly elected chair is to stop the bleeding coming from our own party. It is impossible for the statement of the former officers to be true, that they were working with the candidates, when the candidates themselves completely deny it. And they've said what the party was doing was attacking them in the same way that the Democratic Party was attacking them. They told me the Republican Party was doing a better job attacking their own candidates than the Democrats were. So that's the position that we were in. And again, ask any of the competitive candidates out there, and they're going to tell you the exact same thing.
Talking with Eli Bremer, he's claiming, and he has a good argument, to be the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party at this point. It's going to have to be adjudicated. Eli, you are balancing two things at the same time. One, you are evicting out the previous leadership of the Colorado Republican Party while also trying to build a party infrastructure. Give us insight into what you're doing on the latter half, the building part of it, the connecting with the candidates, and how people can be involved with the Republican Party.
Well, we're starting to rebuild the relationships back to the county parties. So the county parties are really where a volunteer walks in the door. Volunteers don't really walk in the door of the state party and say, I want to volunteer. They go to their county party office. We discovered very quickly that there was a huge problem that had gone on. And as soon as I saw it, I said, we got to try to fix this, which was that nobody had put together an operation to bring Trump Vance paraphernalia and yard signs into our state. Now, Trump has not claimed that Colorado is going to be competitive, but we have a lot of our base that's very energized and wants to support our team. And they are our team, and we support them. And so I'm working with county party chairs right now to try to bring in Trump yard signs, Trump paraphernalia, Trump door hangers, so that people can support our team. And when they get energized, they support people like John Fabricatore in the 6th, who we would really love to unseat Jason Crow, Gabe Evans in the 8th, and Jeff Hurd down in the 3rd district. So that's one thing. Another thing we're doing is I'm getting ready to sign a joint fundraising agreement with the National Republican Congressional Committee. That's going to enable us to start bringing these funds back into the state of Colorado that the previous officers had pushed out of Colorado because they were using the funds illegally and against the needs of the party. So once we have that joint fundraising agreement in place, I believe it'll free up hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, particularly in the 3rd and the 8th district, or where the national folks are targeting. That's going to have a direct impact.
What would you say to the critique that, while there's plenty to complain about with Dave Williams and his leadership of the state party and the actual deliverables of a state party chairman and operations of a Republican Party, this wasn't the right way to go about it? The argument that you could call a meeting, get a quorum, and then get 3/5 of the quorum to remove the chairman it seems like a misreading of the bylaws. Is this the right move to be doing, particularly at this point in this race against the Democrats? Maybe we should have waited till November, December after the fact to critique Dave. What's your response to that?
Let's start by the legality of it. We had 5 attorneys working on this, attorneys of stature, okay, not just random attorneys. These are specialists who had looked at it and said, this was done 100% the correct way. But let's also look at it. I was just doing another radio interview before this show, and they had said, what more could the Democrats do if the Democrats were running the Republican Party to hurt our candidates? And I thought about it, and I said, there's nothing more they could do. The bleeding was so immense. Our candidates were feeling so much pain from the former leadership of the Republican Party. Why would we not want to go in and do everything possible to help our candidates? And our candidates, you don't have to take my word for it. You can go look at what they publicly said. Our candidates were saying the number one drag on their system was their own Republican Party. So given that we had the chance to go alleviate the pain and support our candidates, we stood up and said, we stand with our candidates. We do not stand with corrupt leadership who is attacking our candidates and making their job more difficult. That's why we did not wait until after the election to do the right thing.
Eli Bremer, chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, one of 2 at the moment, that we want to talk to you about on the Jeff and Bill show a little bit more about the quorum. I understand you had some just fantastic legal minds that are with you, but here's the problem that I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around. The idea of if you get only a certain percentage of the council together, then that counts as a quorum, and then we can make changes or have votes, etc. What I'm worried about is how many of those people do we know, or what percentage has to be there in order to be a quorum? And what I'm saying is, can I grab 10 people together? And then because I get 2/3 of those votes, can I make a change? Is it 20 people? Is it 100? I'm curious about that functionally. Do you have any insight on that as far as what qualifies as a quorum in this setting?
Yes, I do. 1/3 of the party central committee at a properly called meeting constitutes a quorum. That's in the bylaws. There's absolutely no question about what constitutes a quorum. So there was no question. It's not disputed that we had a quorum at that meeting according to the organization's bylaws. And frankly, every organization that has bylaws, they have rules on a quorum. And so this is clearly laid out. There's no wiggle room. There's not a discussion around it. It's just a state of fact. It's
Thank you.
1/3 of the quorum.
I appreciate
well
that. 'Cause
yep.
I haven't been able to, and again, maybe at the part that
Yep.
someone else had said that I wasn't paying attention, which would be perfectly logical. I miss stuff all the time. My kids throw stuff at me. I get it. So now I get that as far as the 1/3.
10 people can't get 10 people cannot get together at a bar and take action on behalf of the party. There's a whole process behind it.
Because it wasn't 1/3. Now, question, and this is not just on your opinion, is it smart to set up bylaws where only 1/3 of a ruling council can make those kind of changes? I would think that if I'm putting together, let's just say a snake club or a Dungeons and Dragons club, whatever it is, I would put that threshold a little bit higher. I would want at least 2/3. Does it make sense to only have 1/3 be able to get together and make this kind of change? I'm just talking philosophically.
I think that's up to the organization to decide. The reason why they have rules like this and quorums, and then this required a supermajority of a quorum properly noticed, is because people have a hard time getting here. If you look at the Central Committee of the Republican Party, there's 64 counties. Each county has 3 officers. The vast majority of those are farmers, agricultural people, and many of them have to drive hours and hours across the state. So there's oftentimes lower participation just because of the nature of who's on the Central Committee. The reason you set a rule for a quorum and you have to publicize to the members of the committee what's going to be on the agenda, you set the rules for a quorum because then they might look at it and say, you know what, I feel like we're okay with the direction that's going. I'm not going to spend $300 to drive from Montezuma County in Western Colorado all the way out to Denver, get a hotel, spend 2 days of my time doing this. I'm comfortable letting that take place. So it's really the right of the members to determine that. These are the rules of the party. You know, I think it's done largely for functionality purposes.
It makes total sense. Makes complete. I appreciate that philosophical discussion. Now, I want to dive into a couple of things that dovetail off of conversations we've had here on the show and also with Dave Williams yesterday. And it's a little bit of a 2-parter. One is I would like you to walk us through why this was an authorized meeting. And the only reason I want that is because that seems to be somewhat of the push and pull between the two sides. Was the meeting authorized? Was it not? I just want you to walk the listener through why it was an authorized meeting. And the second thing I would like you to address is we heard from Dave Williams yesterday that the party was reaching out to those candidates and had sent emails to them, but it was the candidates that didn't respond. I'd like you to follow up on that based on your knowledge. What do you know about that conversation and that allegation?
Well, let's start with was the meeting properly called? That's an easy one. The answer is yes. The bylaws have a provision for if someone wants to remove an officer, you submit a written request of 25% of the membership. Should the 25% submit a request, the chairman is obligated to call a meeting for the purpose of removing himself. Now, those who wrote the bylaws years ago, I don't know who it was, foresaw that a chairman would likely not honor that. And so they put a provision in the bylaws that said if that chairman who is set to be removed refuses to call the meeting, any member of the committee may call a meeting of the Central Committee for the purposes of removal. That's in the bylaws. So the former officers had tried to, in fact, they went to court, they lied to a judge. This is established fact. What I'm telling you is established fact. They lied to a judge in Arapahoe County about our bylaws. The judge looked at it and threw them completely out of court on their ear. And so there is a provision in our bylaws specifically to enact this because when you have despots in power, they don't like to be removed. So that's question number one.
But Eli, how was the meeting that took place last Saturday not a response to that? Didn't Dave call that meeting? And couldn't you all have shown up and made the case on what happened just this past Saturday?
So potentially you could have. However, he's a man of gimmicks. I've known him for 15 years. He's never held a job in the private sector. He's never built something. He's destroyed a lot of things. He had put a poison pill in, what we'd call in the private sector a poison pill, where he could have, if he knew he didn't have the votes, he could have turned down and said that the meeting had not noticed it for removal of the officers. And our bylaws are very clear. You have to notice the removal of the officers. They played with words to make darn sure that they had an escape valve. And so I will tell you, I will swear on a stack of Bibles, I would bet my entire net worth on this, that had Dave held that meeting and believed that he had any chance of removal, they would have used the escape hatch and gotten out of it. That is not a situation where you walk into it. The meeting on the 24th was properly noticed, properly held. Again, we had 5 attorneys involved with that. It's my understanding that Dave never had any attorneys because attorneys can be sanctioned for taking improper action. So it's hard for him to find attorneys to work with. I want to answer the second question, though, because it's much more germane about supporting candidates. The party sending an email to candidates one way is not supporting candidates. In fact, the party should not be sending emails at all. If you talk to Cleve Simpson, his race, he's a state senator. If we lose his race, we're likely to be in a micro minority in the Senate, which means that the state Democrats will be able to send constitutional amendments to the ballot, even overriding a governor's veto. The very first thing that they are going to do is go after Tabor. They want to put that on the ballot and get rid of it because the Democrats want to spend like a bunch of drunken sailors. We need to hold that seat. The Colorado Republican Party, without authorization from Cleve Simpson, started sending communication into that district that inflamed the race, and that was supposed to be an easy win for us. And now we're having to spend a lot of time, effort, and money just to hold on to a seat that should have been a win. That is not helpful. That is what the Democrats would have done. So we came in and said, we're going to stop all these communications. Unless a candidate wants a communication into their district, the state party should not be doing it. So you can have quibbling about saying, well, we reached out to a candidate. Well, you're reaching out to candidates that you are actively harming. Don't talk to me about it. Talk to Cleve Simpson. Talk to Senator Paul Lundeen. Talk to Jeff Hurt's campaign. Talk to Gabe Evans' campaign. If the assistance that you say you're giving is assistance that they're saying is hurting, you are not helping the candidates. You are destroying the candidates.
Talking with Eli Bremer, chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, in a disputed chairmanship with Dave Williams. Now, Eli, one of the things we heard from Dave yesterday was when we asked about losing all the endorsements, losing his own race in that primary too, the response often from him is that, well, there's outside forces that are disrupting his ability to be able to get his candidates elected, those that were endorsed by the Colorado Republican Party. And I raised this question yesterday. will you guys go into a disputed chairmanship? Let's say he wins this legal argument. He remains chairman, and the Central Committee meets in late November, early December. I'm not remember when it was, January, February, to figure out who the next chairman is going to be. Will he make the argument that he wasn't able to do his job because outside forces disrupted him? He had to spend all this time fighting this legal stuff over a disputed chairmanship. Is he going to be able to effectively use that case if he remains chairman and faces that vote in after the election?
Not to anybody who supports Republicans. Let's look at who the outside forces are. You want to know who the number one outside force? Actually, I'll pose this as a question. Who is the number one outside force that supported the candidate that Dave Williams endorsed in the 3rd district in the Republican primary? Do you know who the number one spender was?
And that would be Jeff Hurd's district, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It was the Democrats. The Democrats and the Colorado Republican Party paired up with outside money to support Ron Hanks. Now, Ron Hanks did not live in that district. Now, Ron Hanks' campaign manager is a man named John Hotelling, who's a business partner and the campaign manager for Dave Williams. Dave moved party money over into effectively his own pocket. This was all insider baseball, and he partnered with the Democrats. And I want to put an emphasis on this. The top outside spender in the Republican primary were Colorado Democrats supporting the candidate that the Colorado Republican Party endorsed. The Colorado Republican Party vice chairman promoted Aspen Adams advertisements on her social media page. She supported Aspen Adams over our Republican nominee. So if you want to talk about outside money, let's talk about outside money. The Colorado Republican Party under the previous leadership was partnering with Democrats to influence the Colorado elections to get more Democrats elected. With Republican leadership like that, they should be thrown out. They should never be welcome in the party again. And that's why it was time to clean house.
Eli Bremer, we ran a little poll about you. Who is the chairman of the Colorado GOP on my X account? And with 199 votes, Eli Bremer, 61.8% to Dave Williams, 38.2%. So interesting response there as well. Eli, it's going to be about 2 weeks before we see this play out legally. You're out there running, building your party infrastructure. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Let's talk about either side real quick of what could happen in this legal dispute. It goes on to Dave Williams' side. He remains chairman of the Colorado Republican Party according to this legal decision. If they make it that direction, what do you do?
Well, I think at that point, we're in deep trouble with our candidates. The Colorado Republican Party assets and resources will continue being used on behalf of the Democrats' campaign objectives. This would be a disaster. There are 900,000 Republicans in the state of Colorado. The vast majority of them want to see Jeff Hurd get elected. They want to see Gabe Evans get elected. They want to see us hold our position in the state Senate or maybe pick up a seat. And this would be devastating for Colorado Republicans, the actual Republicans, if a fringe group that has partnered with Democrats, and let's be really clear, they are strategically aligned, partnered financially with Democrats. If they are out there attacking our candidates, you could see a governance problem in Colorado like we've never seen before. The Democrats have only just begun their attack on our state. If the Colorado Republican Party does not return to supporting our candidates, getting candidates elected, we're conceding it to the Democrats. And if you think it's bad now, wait until the Democrats have their way with supermajorities in both the House, which they already have, and the state Senate. And you're going to see us turn to the left of San Francisco. If we do not change course as the Republican Party, that's our future, and we have to stop it.
And your message to Dave Williams supporters, if the legal case comes down on your side and you are, by law, the new chairman of the Colorado Republican Party.
Look, we are happy to have anybody out there who supports our Republican candidates. The issue here is not who's the chair or who's not. The issue is, are we fighting to get Jeff Hurd and Gabe Evans and John Fabricatore elected, or are we fighting against them? And so, I look at in the Bible, the disciples came up to Jesus one day and said, "Hey, Jesus, there are people out there casting out demons and doing good works in your name, and we rebuked them and told them to stop." And Jesus said, "Why would you do that? They're doing the right thing." In the same way, if I'm chairman, or I am chairman, once that is confirmed, anyone who wants to come on board, And I don't care if it's people like Tulsi Gabbard, if it's Democrats who say, oh my gosh, this is a bridge too far. Any Republican, if they will stand with us to support our values, our principles, and our candidates, then they are welcome to do so.
Talking with Eli Bremer, chairman of a disputed chair with the Colorado Republican Party. You can follow Eli Bremer at x.com/Eli Bremer. As this all continues to work its way out, Eli, I hope you'll continue to join the show. I thank you for taking time to join us and answer some of our tougher questions.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm more than happy to do so. Apologize, I couldn't make it yesterday. I have a terminally ill family member we were visiting and was unable to. You guys were gracious and extended the invitation yesterday. In general, if you call out, I'll be on your show same day.
Well, Eli, same thing with Dave Williams. Yes, having a child. There's more important things in life than politics. I'm sorry your family's going through that, but please know our prayers are with you.
Yeah, we will be praying
and
for you.
thank you for taking time to be with us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you both.
All right, Eli Bremer, chairman, at least in a disputed chairmanship of the Colorado Republican Party. You can follow him on X at Eli Bremer. He won our poll.
Yes,
our little
he
Twitter
did.
poll, 199,
really
2-1.
Yes.
That he's the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. Now,
That's interesting.
Any Yahoo Democrat on X can vote in that, but
Exactly. But then they'd have to push the right button. We're talking about Democrats here.
All right, we're going to get to phone calls here. Who is the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party? Did you believe what Eli said in those cases about Dave Williams and the party colluding with Democrats? My goodness. What a charge.
Yeah.
Related to Jeff Hurd. Or we're getting a lot of text messages here. No way. Dave Williams colluding with Democrats. Laughing emojis, laughing emojis, laughing emojis. All right. We'd love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. Text us at 720-892-6757. For many of us, it's happening. Your hair is thinning. Your crown's disappearing. Maybe hair loss has you feeling identity is lost altogether. Well, I've got good news for you. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment. One day. That starts growing your own natural hair the very next day. And it's guaranteed for life. If it's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. We've all seen the pills, lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have, but what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently? Specifically growing in new areas, from Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Pauls. It's not maybe will your hair regrow, it's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Just wrapped up a great conversation with Eli Bremer yesterday, Dave Williams. I don't know any other news station that gets both of them.
No. And has
a lot of them
have
really gone after Dave Williams. They don't like their opinions and angry tweets and all that stuff. And look, I get that you can have strong feelings about this, but I feel like you do a better job as a media company when you can have both sides share their position.
Yeah, here's the thing is, Dave and I have gone back and forth on a lot of things, but this is not one of them. And this is just one of those that he deserves the space and the time to explain and talk about his side. And the same thing with Eli.
He's the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party in a legal dispute.
Yep.
Why wouldn't you allow him to have that?
And so is Eli Bremer in a legal dispute. And Eli and I don't agree on other things as well. But I think both of them are good, stand-up guys, and they deserve the time and the space to explain what's going on. And we don't need to come in here and necessarily fight with them. There's so many other things I can fight with them about. There's so many other things, but this is not one of them. This is about trying to figure out how there's a path forward for the Colorado GOP, and there needs to be, but we disagree on how it should go forward, and even listeners do. So
let's go to the phone line. Sean Lakewood, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Sean.
Hey, thanks for the call, man.
Good morning. Thank you, Jeff and Bill. You were the first people to address this issue after Nancy Pelosi sent her midnight press releases out with no advance notice and without authorization from the Jeffco Republican Party, for which she was censured by 70% of her own executive committee. What confuses me is when Eli says there was a valid call, he's wrong, simply because the petition they relied on was nullified. Nancy didn't have authority. It was rejected. It was nullified. She was ordered to return all the materials, which she still hasn't done, to the Jeffco Executive Committee. She refused to. She gave it to Todd. Todd used it, and there was a controversy. Tim Leonard and Ted Harvey, both former representatives, very credible people with great legal backgrounds and great legislative backgrounds, took the committee, that controversy, to the State Executive Committee. It ruled in their favor, and on August 31st, overwhelmingly, that executive committee decision was supported by the state central committee. Now, I'm a member of the state central committee. I'm a member of the state bylaws committee, the Jeffco bylaws committee, and the CD7 bylaws committee. I understand Robert's rules. I understand the bylaws. Eli has conveniently failed to tell anybody or to acknowledge his failure to follow the bylaws. Now, when that petition was denied, they simply could have used any of their rallies to gather 25% of the people. They had the people there. They could have simply passed a sheet of paper around, had everybody sign and date it, and they could have called for another meeting. They failed to. They chose instead to rely on a failed, nullified petition to build this whole house, this whole edifice they have.
Yeah. Now, that's interesting. I want to see how the courts say. I'm not disagreeing with you. It sounds like what you're saying is true, especially with what happened with Nancy Pelosi. It sounds like that would be true. I'm curious to see how it is adjudicated inside of court. And you make a wonderful point that if there was any concern or question in their mind about the validity of Pelosi's request, then they did have ample opportunity to have someone else make a similar request, someone that the ruling committee, executive committee of their necessary district wouldn't object to. Yeah, that's a good point, man.
Well, here's the next point.
Yeah.
They claim they're using lawfare because they're not going after Dave Williams as a party executive. They're going after him individually. They're going after Hope individually. They're going after Anna Ferguson individually. Here's the problem. 2 courts have already ruled on whether or not courts in Colorado have jurisdiction in these issues. And the very jurisdiction they point to, the very court ruling, the judge clearly said, I have no jurisdiction to determine an intra-party dispute. You have to rely on the intra-party mechanism, the controversy, the hearing, and the appeal process. Okay, that's already been done. So when he says there's a court decision that's going to address this, the courts have already addressed this twice. One of their experts, Chris Murray, when he was going after El Paso County on behalf of the state Republican Party, there's an interesting question about potential conflicts here. Anyway, he got the exact same decision that, hey, courts in Colorado don't have the authority to determine these intra-party disputes. Now, they've conveniently neglected to mention any of this or to discuss it. So this whole process, we're going to have the courts determine it. They can't. Now, they want to use the fact that Dave got a temporary restraining order against one meeting. It's because They refused to deal with the initial denial of the petition. At that August 31st meeting, we saw what Todd submitted as a petition request. There was no information on it. Somehow they managed to get all of their people to sign proxies where it was witnessed, dated, signatured. They can do all that, but they didn't do anything at all. They just simply had a name and a county and not even a full name.
Sean, I appreciate the call. Thanks. We're just running out of time here, and we've got to get to one more call. Look, with all the work I've had done to my teeth, believe me, finding a good dentist makes all the difference. I'd like to tell you about Dr. Mike at Rocky Mountain Dental Group. He helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. See for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. I've been going there for over 20 years. Dr. Mike and his entire staff are outstanding. I like the fact that the same person always cleans my teeth. If you need an awesome dentist, Dr. Mike is your guy. If your gums are receding, it's critical to address the issue promptly. Dr. Mike is a top-tier expert in the Chow pinhole surgical technique. This method requires no cutting, no sutures, and virtually no downtime. The procedure involves making a small hole in the tissue and gently repositioning of the gums. Schedule a free consultation with Dr. Mike to discover the benefits of the revolutionary procedure. Call 303-233-1335 or visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's RockyMountainDentalGroup.com to book your free consultation today. Mary, you'll be up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go to the phone lines. Mary, Wyoming. Always good to hear from you, Mary.
Hey, good morning. I would like to, you keep saying the Jeff and Bill Show. When it comes to Kamala, I keep thinking of it as the Jeff and Cal Show. Harris is a DEI hire for the vice presidency. And what is not talked about is her past on the show. She was with Willie Brown as his mistress or whatever else, but she was also, because Brown and his machine were under charges by the Republican Attorney General at that time. They called it San Francisco Gate. He was getting ready to be indicted for for corruption. Willie Brown had Harris run, and it was a squeaky win. It was weeks before that election was called, and she won by less than a percentage point on that Attorney General election.
The first time.
And because the Attorney General one, that's correct. That's the one with Willie Brown.
No, the
And
first
because-
the Willie Brown was
because
the
of
DA.
the
No, wait, hang on.
corruption-
Mary, DA is Willie Brown. When she gets to AG, it's not applicable. Because it's
That's
DA
not
of
true.
It's DA of San Francisco and then AG of California.
No, that Republican
Mary,
Attorney
we're
General.
just going to have to talk more about this. We'll have
Yeah,
a
give us a
lot
call
of
tomorrow.
conversations about Kamala Harris and her history in the next coming weeks. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Have a good day.